Well, welcome everybody to the Planning and Sustainability Subcommittee meeting for Tuesday, August 17th. Let's do a quick sound check. Irene, how are we sounding to people on Zoom without the handheld mic?
Let's see. Since I know Council Member Walter's out there, I'll let you speak. How's the audio for you, Gus?
It's fine. I can hear everything just fine. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thanks, Gus. Thank you. Okay.
And how many of us are in this meeting?
Well, we're about to get to that. So, so the members of the subcommittee, I think it's a hybrid today. All members are participating in person or via Zoom. If you'd like to provide public comment, we encourage you to submit them via an email to the city clerk at iwerby@ci.cloverdale.ca.us. The public may also view and participate in the meeting using Zoom. And so, do we have a roll call, Irene?
Yes. So we have Chair Bagby,
Present.
Vice Chair Cruz,
Present.
Assistant City Manager, Community Development Director Thompson,
Present.
and City Manager Kelly, I believe will be joining shortly.
Thank you. I'm going to read our COVID statement.
Yes, so just as a reminder that this meeting is being recorded and conducted pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspended certain requirements of the Brown Act. Some or all members of the subcommittee may be participating in the meeting in person or on Zoom. Attendees that are joining through Zoom, they'll be muted until they are called upon for public comment. If you wish to make a public comment and you're on Zoom, please raise your hand by clicking on the raised hand icon on your smart device or desk computer, or dial *9 if you're using just your telephone. And please listen carefully for the chair or clerk to address you by name or phone number, and for the audio Zoom notification that you have been unmuted. Once you begin your public comment, please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Those in the audience, simply raise your hand until the chair or clerk calls upon you. Thank you.
Thanks, Irene. Okay, we'll go now to item 2 and communications. There are 2 items, 2 letters received. Any discussion amongst the subcommittee members? I'm not seeing any hands raised. That we will move on to item 3 and public comment. Members of the public may comment on any matter not on this agenda today. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Members of the public may comment on items on the agenda when the subcommittee considers that item. To make a public comment, use the raised hand icon on your smart device or desktop computer, or dial *9 if you are using just your telephone. Irene, are there any hands raised for public comment?
Let's see, for public comment not on the agenda, no hands are raised.
Anything received via email?
No.
Thank you. So item 4 is approval of the minutes. Have the subcommittee members had a chance to take a look in the minutes, and is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Martha, did you have a chance to take a look at the minutes? I think she was not at that meeting. And you are on mute.
I was not in the meeting. I did look at the minutes, but I don't think I can vote because I was not present.
That is a that is a common misconception. Even if you were not at the meeting, you are allowed to vote on the minutes if they look to be in order to you.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you. I wish more council members and supervisors, let alone council members, knew that that was the case for public meeting rules. So it sounds like there is consensus to approve the minutes. Do you need a voice vote?
No. Thank you.
So moving on to item 5, current items for discussion, proposed parks at Baumgartner Ranch Development.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know, Irene, if you'd be able to bring up the agenda and scroll down to this section on the screen. I just make some printouts for folks who are here. You may recall when the City Council approved the Baumgartner Ranch, there was a discussion about the need for a park. And discussion with the developer, integrated community design. They agreed to eliminate 7 lots on the subdivision map and include a park. Subsequent to that, David Kelly and I have been working with Mr. Lingo from Integrated Community Design to get him to commit to some kind of design for a park, which is in front of you today. This is really a first blush. David and I gave him a few comments about it, but we wanted to run it by this committee to get some input. The park includes a 2,000 square foot top lot, 6,000 square feet of open space, 4,000 square feet barbecue area, and a dog park that's about just under 15,000 square feet. And there's 17 on-street parking spaces. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Irene. It's kind of hard to see with all
Thank
the
you. It's hard to read.
with all the topo lines and the small print.
Yeah.
So this is what he's come up with in our discussions with him. He's open to any suggestions, within reason. And, this one of the thoughts that I had could be maybe a community garden in the open space, just because for folks who are living in the multifamily units to the east, would have an opportunity to have a garden that way, and he's open to that. Again, including a dog park, because he's heard many times our discussions about dog parks. I do think the intent of this park area was to serve the folks who will be living in this development. There's also another opportunity to connect it to the open space, which, if you look on the map, is parcel E, which is about just under 7 acres that's going to be left open as part of this project. So one of the thoughts we had was, could we accommodate, maybe just a trailhead or incorporate that area into this park? And the developer stance on the open space has always been, I'm willing to sign an easement or donate it, but we just don't want to be responsible for it. So we've kind of been kicking around ideas on maybe a nonprofit who would want to take that for the trail. And I guess my point would be that this could be phase 1, and we could think about phase 2, which could be a trail that goes up, which combine really nice with what he's proposed here. So that's kind of the end of the report. I mean, it's a small park, but I think he did put some thought into it, and he seems very willing to listen to any suggestions we have. This was his stab at it based on what he's heard in the community regarding the dog park, top lot barbecue areas. So I'll leave it at that unless David has anything else to add. Well, I guess one thing I say is this will be probably included with the final map, because there's still one more step for Baumgarten Ranch project. The council has to approve the final map for the subdivision, which is normally just kind of on consent, but since it did change a little bit during this process, it's going to have to be a regular public hearing. And the idea of this part will probably be included with that.
And when do you think that will happen?
Well, right now we're waiting for the developer to resubmit the final map. I don't know. He has to do a lot of improvement plans, so I'm sure he's super busy working on projects. So I keep in touch with him. He said it's coming. So hopefully by the end of the year.
Okay. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Are you talking about end of the year this year or into next year? But it sounds like
I'm hoping this year, and that's kind of what he's indicated they are working on it. So.
great. Well, at this time, I'll just, are there any questions from my subcommittee member, Mayor Cruz? Any questions for Kevin right now?
No questions.
Okay. I think that's pretty straightforward. I think I'm going to hold my questions till we hear from the public, if that's okay, and then we can have some deliberation.
I also apologize, Mr. Lingo couldn't make it today.
Okay.
I mean, told my relaying comments back to him.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, this time I'll go ahead and open it up to public comment, and we'll need to use the microphone, Irene.
Yes, that was me.
Yes. Okay. You want to be our question here? I think we have to hit the button. Are there any questions from the public?
So, Kevin, is this
is the city changing the park for the lots on Times Square for low-income housing? Is that how it's working, or
No,
is this part of his development?
this is part of the development. Initially, that was kind of the discussion, but these are really decoupled at this point. These are separate projects. The council was pretty adamant when we did this project because it was about recreation. And it was kind of a back and forth with me at the meeting. We eliminated that law, which is accommodate what you see here.
Great, thank you. Is there any other questions from the public on this item?
Is the dog park on the agenda?
We are actually, we are discussing, you want to just give another little short,
Yeah.
Kevin?
Sure.
And actually, do we have an extra, do you have an extra map, Bob? that we
I
can
have a
show?
map.
You have a map?
Close down.
Oh, great. You want to just,
Well, I'm not sure, Manuel. So right now, we are discussing some park improvements that would be put in as part of a big development on the south end of town. Included in that, you can see on the screen, is a dog park. But this, just so you know, that further on in the agenda, we do have a regular dog park. I just so happen that we're
we're discussing,
The meeting got moved, we told us that the fire department,
oh, no, that was, they're not letting us in, sorry, that was,
sorry about that.
because nobody told us that it's been moved.
well, it was on the agenda, so when the agenda was released, it had this address. We resolved it before we published the agenda, so sorry about that. But so just to kind of catch you up, we're discussing the whole, the Baumgartner Ranch development, and, as a result of, the presentation of the developer at council meeting, we were pretty adamant that we wanted a dog park to go in, and so we actually reduced the number of lots, and that's what's on this map. So if you want to grab one of these,
Oh, yeah, where is?
You can see it on the
you
screen.
can see it on the screen.
It's kind of hard to see, just because there's so many lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this
Can
is,
you see it right there, kind of that, right, there, one down, there you go, so that's what they're suggesting, so you want to just kind of go over the summary of the park areas again?
yeah, so
Since the location was moved in, you at the beginning of the meeting, so.
this is a proposed new park as part of a development that's approved on the south end of town, known as Baumgartner Ranch. During the approval, the council was very adamant that there wasn't enough recreation opportunities being provided within the project, and it's 300 units, so it's a larger project. So the developer agreed to eliminate 7 of the single-family lots, which you can see across the street what those look like, and replace it with this park area. So you can see, I don't know if I should.
Yeah, go ahead and point it out. Go ahead and point it out on the screen.
I don't know if people can see me. So here is it's about a 15,000 square foot dog park he's proposing, a barbecue area, this is open space, and then a tot lot, and then there's 17 parking spaces that would accommodate this. Also, what we talked about is he's dedicating this area as an open space, it's just under 7 acres. So a second phase, or if we can, make it happen on this phase, could be maybe a trailhead that goes up and comes around. Combine, it's a little hill, you can see how hilly it is, these topo lines, but we could, create a park trailhead, like a trailhead here that would go up and sort of connect it all. But right now, the developer has come forward with this plan for a park, and he's asking for our input.
Can I ask you who the developer is?
Yes, it's integrated community development, and
Oh, right in the middle.
yeah, right here,
Oh, I-
integrated community.
Yeah.
We've been working with them for over 2 years on this project.
And where exactly is this on South Florida?
Do you know what I'm familiar with the Baumgartner property? So it's, I don't
Oh,
know.
where is it?
Renner, yeah. Oh, behind Renner's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, everybody goes to the thrift shop. So, yeah. And mine? Yeah. Yeah. So it's back in there? Yeah. Okay.
It's a flat parcel, owned by the same family.
Okay.
What's the status of the Mount Garden? In other words, when is NAN beginning of?
Well, he would like to start next year. And I mentioned earlier that he's got one more step to go through the city council for what we call a final map. But really, the heavy deliberation on the project has occurred already, with the planning commission and a couple different city councils. So I think what we're trying to accomplish here is kind of maybe give him some input on what he's proposing as a park, And then he would wrap that together with his final map, which is scheduled to occur within by the end of the year. And then development, he just wants to start in the spring. Construction.
Did we talk him into a skateboard park too?
Well, I mentioned before, David Kelly, the city manager, and I have been talking to him all along, and I think he's pretty open to, almost anything within reason. If it's going to cost him a ton of money, he's going to push back, but he's been open to almost anything. We did discuss maybe the idea of a community garden there for folks living in the multifamily, which she's open to as well. But there's a small open space that, could change. There's a barbecue area, the tot lot, and the dog park. So,
I mean, it'd be a good possibility that we could raise the money for the skateboard park. Well, we're not talking about a skateboard park for on the agenda, and it's really not gonna be part of the Park Ranch. We already have a pretty advanced plan for skateboard park. Oh, you do? Yes, yes. So I'd like to stay on the agenda and just keep it on this project if we possibly can.
and I guess I said it before, but I think the idea with this park really is to serve folks who are living in this development. But I mean, it would still be open to everyone, but I think really the idea with the council's comments were that there's not an open space.
Excuse me, Kevin. Excuse me, Kevin. I
Yeah.
didn't hear, I didn't hear what you said last, Melanie. You were saying raising funds for the park?
No,
didn't-
no.
I couldn't hear you. You need to speak to the microphone.
Somebody mentioned the idea of putting a skate park here, and Councilmember Bagley mentioned that we've already have plans for a skate park elsewhere in town, and we've already kind of gone through a design process on that. Can you hear me okay, or?
I can hear you.
Okay, got it.
Go ahead.
This is in regards to the dog park.
I'm sorry?
This is in regards to the dog park.
Well, this is in regards to the Baumgartner project.
No, I understand.
Okay.
And I came in late because the location was switched, so I was over there waiting and I was here. So I apologize for being late. But, I didn't quite catch, you said the 15,000 feet is going to be allocated for the dog park, and that's going to include, on another park, or blah, blah, blah. Is it all going to be?
Gosh, I have more in these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
Well, I'm
You can have
not one
mine.
here, but.
Oh, here, do you want to come up here and just do a copy mine, so I took notes? Maybe bring your mouse. I went ahead and wrote, I kind of wrote, so this is just, what the developer is proposing, this isn't final, that's what we're here discussing right now.
Okay, give me some bearings. So this is Foothill.
That's Foothill Boulevard, and then this is his development, he have a home, and then that's Foothill side.
Okay, this is the freeway right here.
And that's, that's backing out, this is going, west, right, or west-ish.
Yeah.
The west is kind of like that. So then dog park is right here at about 15,000 square feet, and then I can't read my writing from about.
Okay.
You can kind of see what the different items are, what the spaces in relation to each other.
And this is predominantly mostly for this community, you're saying?
Well, I don't, I think the idea was to serve this community, but it wouldn't be a private type of, HOA situation. It would still be open to everybody. I think there's a little confusion because we have a dog park issue, item later, but we're also talking about dog park now, so.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know I was already on the agenda, so I can wait.
No, I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad that you brought it up, because honestly, when did we have the last hearing on this with, integrated? I don't remember.
I think March. Maybe.
So, yeah, last March, and the council and all the council members, at the time were very adamant, we need more open space and we're looking for a dog park. And so we put them on notice, and at that meeting, the developer was very receptive and came back, and he came back with, that was our ask, and he came back with this proposal. And so what he's looking for is feedback on, do we like it, do we not like it, is there enough square footage, is there the uses that we're looking for, that sort of thing. So that's what we're talking about today.
Okay, I have a question. Would the dog park have to wait until the full subdivision is final?
Great question.
Well, I think the idea was, and we haven't worked out all the details, that he probably would, when the heavy equipment is out there, take advantage of that. But it's a good question. That's something that we can ask about timing. And I don't have a great answer. I mean, I would think you would probably want most of the houses constructed before you open the parks, so people wouldn't be traipsing through there while they're
That's
built.
what I was thinking.
But I'll write that down.
And what did you say, so now it's one at a time, please? So I'm sorry, I'm chairing the meeting, so I'm gonna call on people when they're ready.
Always on here.
Continue, go ahead.
When was this groundbreaking?
So you wanna go over the development schedule again, Kevin?
The development schedule, is to start next spring. Now, that can change. He's applying for a lot of different funding. A portion of this is affordable housing, which there's 2 cycles a year for funding. I won't get into all that, but things can change. But what he told us, he would like to start next spring.
What's the timeframe for start to finish? 3 years, 5 years?
Oh, wow.
Well, I'll have to ask him. I'll ask him for a construction schedule.
Yeah,
If you will.
it's tough right now. Yeah, it's tough right now for builders.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So-
Madam Chair,
Sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
well, we need to take into account, and everybody needs to remember that everything is pending upon our circumstances with the drought.
Thank you. Well said. Lots of decisions are.
Yeah.
I have another question. So, yeah,
Is there,
I think we had, go ahead, Henry.
no, I was wondering, because especially with the drought, is there anything there on that land right now? Is there a tree? Is it flat land? Will it be flat? Will there be anything there?
Generally speaking, it's a flat lot. There are some oaks along the edge of the road. It does go up where the Baumgartner family lives, and I believe they're retaining that as their home up on the hill there. But generally speaking, it's a very flat lot.
No, but I mean, there's no trees necessarily.
There's really no.
Pretty sparse. Yeah, I mean, you can go down the ladder and look over. It's pretty, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful spot.
And the drought would impact this happening, because if the drought got worse, you wouldn't allow for new houses to be built.
Well, actually,
Is
I'm
that
gonna touch on the.
correct?
That was the Morgan.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's how the current moratorium would affect future, development, however.
Right now, we're not allowing new hookups for water or hookups that intensify a current hookup. Projects do have the ability to move forward through the planning process. They can get approved, they can get building permits, they can build. So just say, for example, somebody they built the whole thing, and now we're getting to the end and they need water hookups. The ordinance that the council just adopted last Wednesday allows a path forward for them. It's pretty rigorous, but if we're still in a drought stage, there is a path forward for them to get water hookups. And I'll just be really brief. We could establish a fee that they would pay into the city would use to conserve water elsewhere in town. They could, they have to defer all landscaping installation, or they can mitigate their water use through reduction of water elsewhere in town. So that could mean they're gonna agree to swap out 500 toilets and do other various things to places in town enough to offset their water use 100%, which is in a project this big is a very high cost. So the shorter answer is projects are allowed to continue going through the planning process. They can build, they can do all of those things. When it comes to hooking up the water, I mean, realistically, this thing, on the best time schedule, probably wouldn't have anything to hook up till 2023. I mean, with all the improvements you've got with roads and sewers, lots of time-consuming things. But we are making all the developers aware of that they're proceeding at their own risk. And we just had a meeting today with our city attorney and David, and I think we have a good path forward to convey that message. So I don't know if you have any questions, but right now we're not allowing water hookups.
What about something that's in the process right now, people? It isn't, it's just started. I think it's next door to our house.
Yeah.
Are they gonna get water with it?
Well, one of the things with that project is they did get a well-served water letter, and that is one of the things in the ordinance that allows projects to move forward. Another thing with that project is they had existing connections. They had 14 units. I mean, they are intensifying that, but the impact of that was somewhat already absorbed into the system. And the new model will use less water because it's more of a multi-family versus. So, but they've been approved for a long time and they have a letter from our city attorney.
So the moratorium is just on new, so the new, okay. Okay,
Does that answer your question?
yes,
Yeah.
and ADUs also, the moratorium.
Yeah, I mean, moratorium is probably not the right.
Yeah.
not- We're not allowing new hookups.
Yeah.
It probably would apply to maybe, I didn't thought about that, but yeah.
Yeah, but let's, again, we stay on the
Yeah.
agenda. And actually, what I'd like to hear from the folks who are here to talk about the dog park is, in this portion, is that we are, just, and just so that you know, this is the developer sending it back to us saying, well, how about this? And we're supposed to give our response, so the council ultimately kind of give our feedback and our response. So I'm interested in hearing from you, now that you've kind of got the numbers and the maps. 15,000 square feet, which is, I just kind of did some quick math, that's 0.34 of an acre. Just as a rule of thumb, I think that the Villa Chanticleer is about an acre and a half. That's a huge dog park.
Yes, it is.
It's I love, but it's big. I have a smallish dog who's crazy, but it's more than enough for her, and it seems to be more than enough for, like 3 or 4 groups of big dogs at an acre and a half. So I guess my question for you is, do you like those 15,000 square foot? One more thing, and then do you like the barbecue area, kind of where it is, open space leading to hopefully connecting with the trail? And I have some questions about the toilet, but I just want to hear from you guys if you think that's enough. Is it one, if it's possibly one dog park, and then there might still be a need for it.
Sorry, yeah, we have a list of questions, but we're gonna wait for ours, but as far as this.
I really, it's like, let's go ahead and kind of, if you can kind of take your questions and apply them, your comments to kind of this project.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to it again to talk about the dog park, all the dog park needs in general.
Okay. So this is-
Madam Chair,
First piece-
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that everybody's wearing the mask at all times indoors.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the reminder. So that your mouth's on. So go ahead and, do you have your little list of questions, and if you could kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll reserve those for when they're actually talking about the dog park. As far as this dog park,
Yeah.
Hey, 1,500 square feet is amazing.
15,000,
15,000 square feet is great, my question is the terrain, can we plant trees if there's no trees there? Because if it's a bare area this time of the day, and also, because it's in the community, we ran into, when we were at Vintage Park,
Vintage Meadows.
Justin Walters, we were over there measuring and stuff like that, to possibly put a small dog park there. Well, they came up and they said, no, not at this park, because this belongs to this community. So we were basically, because there's a special thing going with Vintage Park that they wanted to maintain and blah, 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 blah.
I'm not sure,
So
or
is
the
this
attorney
gonna
would agree
be,
with that assessment, that legal assessment, but okay.
no, we were basically shoot out of there, okay.
Well, that's not very nice.
Well,
Yeah, but this hasn't been built yet.
I know, so, but I'm trying to figure out, can we plant trees there if we get it, and are they gonna be restricted to, like, you say, the community, but you can't, well, nobody, because it's
Well,
gonna be
it is-
open, right?
If it is a city dog park, it's our dog park.
Okay, so anybody can go.
Yeah, our goal, working with the developer, is to have a turnkey park. It's not, here's a piece of land, let's get volunteers. We want him to, and he's willing to do this stuff. So a landscape plan and further details would be, provided by him. He put this together and said, what do you think? And you run the flagpole, but there'll be more detail. I mean, again, it's a turnkey situation where we want.
I think that the design questions, I think that they're really important right now, like, are we gonna have shade, are we gonna have, all those sorts of things, but what we really need to, the primary feedback really needs to be, are we happy with the size, the sighting? Will that work? Will that accommodate our needs? And then we'll figure out the tree design later. Yeah, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
But 3/4 of an acre, you know.
Exactly, well, it's about.
But they're right for an acre and a half, but 3/4.
Exactly,
better
that's a
than
good
none.
start, that's kind of good. At the risk of, showing my hand, actually. Sorry, go ahead.
I would ask them to take out the barbecue. I just don't think the barbecue fits well with the dog park. Most people don't want to eat right in a dog park. I would take the barbecue out, make a bigger dog park, and then I would ask him to put the trees in. Also to divide it with little dogs and big dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. And, you know, have put that at his expense.
Well, you know what, this is something I think you bring up a really good point, and that is that, and we can talk about it later under the other agenda item, is that what if this is one dog park and then there's another dog park? And there, because and I don't think it's illusionary here, they don't have, they just have, it's just.
Right, it's all one.
But then they have a separate small dog park down by the water trees, right? Not that you have to do, but I'm just pulling up examples that I'm familiar with from the area, so.
But I just think the barbecue didn't, to me, it doesn't, if they want to have a barbecue, they should go to park. I just don't think it fits well at the edge of the dog park.
Well, one of the things we want to consider is, what's shown here is only the single family homes. Across Woodhill, there's townhouses and multi-family. So I think our message to him has really been, you know, folks living in multi-family, what kind of outdoor needs would they need living in that situation? So I think that's maybe where the barbecue came from. But again, it's kind of a.
But these are the single family homes, and the question, I think that's a really good point that you bring up, is that more of a need that's really in the multifamily, and then maybe either more of a picnicky area?
Yeah.
And actually, I have a big, I'm gonna hear from you guys until you're done, and I have a couple of, I have questions about the business. So, yeah, go ahead.
I have the question of what's on the other side of the barbecue.
Yeah, what is that?
Oh, yeah, okay,
To
so,
the north,
That little square.
it's just described as open space.
well, open space and then tot lot on the corner.
Yeah, but if we reverse that, in other words, we put the barbecue off at the north end.
That's kind of what I'm,
Yeah.
go ahead, Bob.
My issue is, you mentioned early on about a trailhead. Now, the obvious place to have a trailhead is just west of the dog park, on the western portion of the dog park.
Well, or the.
Because it has a much less steep slope. That would be the obvious place to put the trailhead. That's, of course, far.
You obviously never
What
been
did you-
adjacent to the Golden Gate Recreation Area, which faces a staircase, but yeah, that's a good point.
So I think you could rearrange all of that property around, you know, you could put the dog park towards the north, bring the top lot down, open space will then lead into the trailhead, and that's what you're looking at.
Is there a parking lot?
Well, But yeah, it's right.
It's 17 spots.
Right here, 17. Yeah. Can you see that on the, I think you can probably see it on the
It's on,
screen right
it's on
there.
the street, you kind of pull off the street.
I'll take a picture of that later.
I can email.
We can get you on it. I kind of.
Well, I have one, but I like to look at the description.
I wrote all over mine, you're welcome to copy. If I don't write it down, then it doesn't make any sense to me, so, okay. Any other comments on, I think this is really good input on, because this is kind of what we're trying to do, layout, size, functions, uses, access, all that stuff.
You do have in your notes water, right? The dog park does need water.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
It'll,
I mean, because I have been to dog parks where there's no water,
oh, yeah, we do.
and that's uncomfortable for the dogs.
Yeah,
Unless you bring-
and actually, I think that as nice as it is, the Lake Sonoma Dog Park is nice, it shows, well, no, there's water at the gate,
Oh, yeah.
but not farther in.
No.
And it has that funky hillside where it's really awkward, especially if you see, I think older couples who are there trying to navigate it, and it's not, if you have accessibility, a lot of people who are older or have accessibility issues have dogs, and it's not a really friendly
We
space.
may need to use the mic, because I think the mayor's having trouble hearing.
Well, I keep talking to these people too. Sorry, go ahead.
So will it be a public park and the city maintains it?
That's a great question.
Well, it's going to be a public park, and we're negotiating with the developer, ways to maintain it. He's offered to, donate the land, build the park, but we're also trying to get him to agree to a community assessment district to help maintain the park. We haven't really worked all of those details out, but it will be a public park. The city may maintain it, or we can convince him to help us, assess the homes in their small amount to help pay for maintenance. And that's kind of a simplified version of what we're trying to do. Yeah.
And I think that's where the vintage park came from. Okay, we maintain this park so you can't use it. Well, so that's,
That's thinking like landscape and lighting district,
exactly.
but I'm not sure that our city attorney would agree with that.
Well, I guess
Who has the right to use it for what use it?
This situation.
This would be, yes, this would be more cooperative. This would be, I think that's a great analysis, but this would be more like Furber Park. It's a city park that
The developer put in.
neighbor, which I can't think of a park that we have that isn't like that. I mean, city park on Second Street, Furber Park is like that. Porterfield Creek is like that. It's like the neighbors,
all the parks are public.
yeah, all of our
The,
neighbors.
the folks who live in the landscape and land districts do pay every year to help maintain them, but they're still public parks. So,
Yeah.
Well, I wish I would have known that when that big old tall rock in front of me.
I'm sorry that happened.
And, well, Mayor, Walters was there too, so he got an airport too.
but
Yeah, but
summarize
maybe
the,
we can summarize, kind of, I actually, before I give kind of my feedback, I'd like to hear from the mayor, so,
We do have a comment on
Oh,
Zoom when
oh.
you're
you
ready.
know what, let's go ahead and take more public comment,
Okay. So over on Zoom.
and we'll make the mayor wait.
Okay, Joseph, go ahead and make your comment.
Hi, I just wanted to make a quick comment, just in regards to the barbecue area. I just was thinking about having my dog, at the dog park in the barbecue area with no buffer. The dogs might be very drawn.
Yeah, not good.
It just be kind of, it might be kind of distracting is all. I just thought, I was thinking about when somebody mentioned it, and it's true, your dog might just run over to the fence and just kind of sit there, and you wouldn't be able to interact with them very well. But so maybe if there was the buffer of the open space and then the barbecue or something like that, it might be a good idea. But that's all I was thinking about. Thanks.
I think that's a really good point. I have a 14-pound dog now for that reason, because I've had German Shepherds, so, yeah.
David might want to add something.
Sorry, David, did you have something to add? You're a cat person, but go ahead.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments, and I was kind of taking notes reflecting the input from the committee participants. A couple of things just to prime your thinking caps is whether you want to have restrooms. So that's something for consideration. Also, there's an area that identifies open space. There's no detail that identifies what that open space might be, but it could be, just literally, open, you want to call it dirt or turf. But do you want to see some kind of turf improvements, maybe that would enable, like soccer, for example, or, an open turf area for youth sports to practice. So that's just something to note there. It may not make a big change in terms of the open space, but that was the other comment I just wanted to share because we could specify. And I also heard that there was interest in defining the access to the conservation space. And of course, the entire park is surrounded by, kind of elevated foothills. So that's something we have to really kind of look at and think about what the future might behold in terms of accessing that larger parcel E. And likewise, breaking down the dog park into a small and large dog dog park, where might those entrances and exits be located? They're currently shown on the court at the south side of the park area, and again, as part of looking at the design and breaking it down by small and large, there may be some consideration around where those access points are for those two, kind of if you separated those two, the dog park into two separate spaces.
Can you repeat that last bit, David?
Just looking at the location, the access points for the dog park, if the consideration is to kind of break that into two separate dog parks, one for small dogs and one for large dogs. That's typically what you do see with official dog parks, is you've got them broken down. So you have to consider where the entrances and exits are for that, if that space is broken into kind of two separate dog parks.
It's actually a perfect spot at that corner. Like if you're looking at the parking spaces straight on, and you go to that far left parking space, and there's that corner right there. So the piece that's like kind of front, the cul-de-sac, that's kind of a perfect small dog area, kind of at the bottom with the least amount of elevation gain. And then the rest of it being bigger dogs. That make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
But I think it's really early to start talking about that, but if we are interested in having a dual use, then that's probably the most logical place, is that little corner immediately, like upper left from the first parking place on the left. Just an idea. Okay.
Can I ask something else? If they took out the barbecue area, which I think they should, how much bigger could the dog park be? Would it be about a half acre?
Well, it's
Would add-
4,000 square feet,
Or 4,000?
so it would make it 19,000 square feet.
Okay, so we're getting close to half acre. 20,000, 21,000 acres.
It's 3/4 of the thing.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's 0.34 acres.
0.34.
Oh, point.
Yeah, so it's 15,000 square feet.
So it's not even a half an acre.
No, so it's 15,000 square, that's pretty big. I mean, that's a pretty good size. And then 15,000 square feet, let's just say as of 4,000 square feet, that's about right.
That's nice. Especially if you're gonna divide it in half.
Half an acre.
I actually think the barbecue area, if you take that out, we will take it somewhere, that could be, like if you get access on this side, you have like access here, access there. If you get access there, you can make that the small dog park right there, because they really don't need that much space. I mean, yeah, we can space, but not as much as the big dog park.
Sure.
The rest of it could be a dog park. Now, I don't know what you've allocated on this open space partial left thing.
That's 6,700.
And there's a nice big space, but what's the pool?
I mean, we kind of remember that.
That's the, nice barbecue area back there for that.
I mean, I understand the dog park.
The dog park.
The dog park
lot.
crew.
Yeah.
So we really
You're
want.
gonna have to share.
Very top area could be where you put the barbecue pits and stuff like that.
But I mean, also, I'm seeing like 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, like covered areas in one kind of big one, right? So that's a lot.
If we wanted to propose something other than a barbecue area, that would be useful or nice for the folks who live there, that's a possibility too.
Yeah.
I think the idea here was living in an apartment, this would give you a chance to have a small party or something like that. But
Yeah, but this is the single family, right?
I know, but this,
Yeah.
I mean, this just happens to be where, the apartments are here, so it's not.
Yeah, it's not that far.
Basketball court.
Yeah, pickleball, like, the need for the pickleball. Talk about people who are, I think, pickleball people, you gotta watch out. That's me. I'm saying that.
These single families don't have a backyard, the singles, they must, they have
No, no,
a patio,
I don't
maybe,
know.
They do.
they have a backyard,
They're-
okay.
They're small lots. for
Yeah.
sure.
Most people barbecue in their backyard.
Right, but what I'm saying is, the other phase of this development is multifamily. And they won't have stars.
But I'll,
That's just right here, it's not shown.
Oh, okay, so that's what.
That's here, and
and I'll
then
tell you, one of the really popular pieces to both Server Park, and probably more so City Park, is the park area for like,
Right.
for kid birthdays. That's, we have
Yeah.
we have to remember pre-COVID, having a covered area, at least, you know, one or two, I don't know why he keep up, I mean, this is not etched in stone or anything, but he's calling for 5. But I know that they do get used and they're very popular with them, because it does allow you to not have to have all the kids in your backyard, or your, you know, you can go to the park and do, you know, you can make them out there and clean up, put it in the trash.
Well, I think,
And I Sandra had, you were 2 kids, like, am I off? You're like, go to the park.
Because this area over here, there are parks, and there are 1 or 2 animal parks.
And they need a space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking, where are those people are the ones that need the space outside.
People only is right here, but these are from individuals don't have.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how popular a barbecue area, just, you know, there were big concerns about fire and fire use at Clover Springs and at Porterfield Creek, there were a lot of concerns about that. I'm not, and the key, I can see why the developer put this there, because it's a very popular feature, but I'm not sure how, what the appetite for Cloverdale is to have a barbecue area up against an open space area. I don't think that there's gonna be a lot of appetite for that. I think that people are gonna wanna have some picnic tables, some covered areas, place where you can have a kid's birthday party, throw a frisbee, you know, do that kind of stuff, but I'm not
what do you
sure.
call it, picnic area?
I
or
think
something?
more of a picnic area that's maybe less intensive. It's less specific, like this is where barbecues happen.
One other thing that David Kelly says, I went a lot of, we've always had dogs. Generally, there's not restrooms.
Yes.
But if you have a barbecue area,
Yeah.
you probably have to have the restroom.
Like,
So he could probably get rid of the restroom if he moves the barbecue area or gets rid of it.
I'm trying to remember what there is, and you guys can maybe, I'm trying, because I've been to Village Center how many times?
Many times.
I cannot remember now what I think, do they have porta potties in a sink?
Yeah, they have porta potties
But they also have a
outside
sink.
by the children's playground. It's
Yeah.
adjacent to the dog park.
But most dog parks don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's nothing inside the dog park.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm gonna go to the person that people I know who raise
You need that.
kids.
Yeah, you need that.
You need restrooms, and, I know what Bill Shanker is like in the morning, everybody's there with their cup of coffee, their little kids.
Yeah.
And I'm not super, I have this is completely, we're not even at sexual stage, pre-sexual stage, but I think that a lot of people bring their dog, bring the stroller, bring the kids, have their coffee. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have it split by this open space area. I think that there should just be a little more integration. That's my kind of my concern, my feedback with how I do the layout.
So we want to change it to a picnic area. If it's a picnic area, can it be next to the dog park as opposed to the barbecue? Sounds like we didn't want that.
There's several,
Do you think?
play areas, a lot of them are next to dog parks.
I think we should kind of leave it up to the designer, to the ultimate designer to say, you need this kind of a buffer, you need this many feet. I mean, I know my dog, man, there's no sense there, it should be,
Oh, no, it has to be a fenced area.
oh, no, it's fenced, but I mean, she'd be in that area, picnic area, but I mean,
They're like against the fence waiting for something.
exactly, I should be programmed immediately.
The
so.
picnic area needs to be close to the hot area.
Yeah,
So you can watch your kids. play.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can't have it.
I think that's kind of good feedback for them to come back with like a little bit more of a design of somebody who actually is a designer, if that makes sense, but that's kind of those are our big.
I think that's good, and I think,
Trees are nice.
Yeah.
we'll landscape plan, and then I think we want to at least consider the idea that there may be, open space and some accommodation to get in there, even if it's just a place for a trailhead.
I'll tell you what, I mean, like, when I look at this, and I may get completely shot down, but I love the idea of having a people trailhead over here and a dog trailhead. And also,
We should be pointing at the map over there.
I know, I kind of got it, I have it like this, So you've kind of got the open space where people come in and can get access here, and you can do a trail that does a gentle, you don't want to go straight up into that's too steep, but you can do a trail that kind of skirts this little site here. And it'd be nice if you had a trailhead on the dog park, where you, at least for like the first couple hundred feet, you had, it's not, wouldn't be dog only, but it would be like, yeah, access from the dog park and access from the
Okay.
open space.
Yeah, I think, the comment for him is we need to think the next phase, which is gonna try to get a trail up here.
Yeah.
And possibly dog and definitely, pedestrian trail.
Yeah.
Just have somewhere where that could be accommodated as we move forward.
I guess, yeah, my comment would be kind of like, at this point, once we sort of know where the dog park area is, and once we sort of know where the common area is, which is now called open space, it would be nice to be like, okay, well, the trail plan is, we're gonna have a trail plan that leads from both places.
Yeah,
So you
okay.
don't have dogs coming into this, through here, through this area. If people want to take their dog up on the trail, they go through, either go through the dog park or go through another access. So they're not bothering people. That's just sort
My
of,
last comment. So I'm not quite sure, but it looks like that top area is by the road.
yeah, it's on the corner.
Right, which, I don't really like that, just because, is it fenced? Is there, what's around it? I
Yeah.
mean,
We
things
don't-
are easily grabbed these days, and they run out and everything else, but
This is all the detail we have. I mean,
okay,
I think we should ask them to kind of rethink the way these are laid out.
yeah,
And, maybe integrate them better. Is there some kind of rule of thumb for separation for uses between the dog park? And then, let's try to think about phase two, which potentially is a trail up into the open space for both dogs and pedestrians.
Yeah, but I think that's what they're looking for, is like,
That's what they're-
content, rough
Yes.
square footage, and then bring a designer in. And if we're saying, hey, we definitely want a trail, we want a dog trailhead, and we want a dedicated people trailhead, then they can kind of incorporate that in the next thing they bring up.
Yeah, I think we have good.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, just one thing I want to add in terms of the general layout of what we're gonna do. We have to be careful not to make it too complex due to the fact that this city has been working for over 10 years to get a dog park. And if this gets real complicated, next thing you know, the dog park's off the plate because it's too complicated to fill.
Well,
And again, we wait another 10
you can
years
thank Kevin.
before we get a dog park.
He's got a great relationship with the developers, and they are genuinely great to work with.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that everything that we sort of indicated and we asked for, and, great feedback from the city manager, is that these are all really, and this is what they're asking for.
Right, no, they want to say that, but we gotta be careful
No,
because.
I get it, yeah, I really do.
I think they're happy with that dog park. It's
Yeah,
probably
no,
one of the
they
lower
are.
cost.
No, it's
Thing.
simply, yeah, it's a very, it's very budget friendly.
Yeah.
That's why you're not gonna get rid of the barbecue.
Play a lot for it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure barbecue would make it through the next phase because of the fire concern. I think
It was out of place.
it's kind of something we used to always do, and now we're
Right,
going a lot
now
more
not
careful.
so much.
Yeah, and City Park, I think it's really appropriate because it's away from, it's in the grass, it's irrigated, it's pretty safe, but it's not, I don't think it's a must do anymore. Yeah, but, okay. That's a great point. There you go.
The flyer and everything?
We can barbecue down and bring it over to the kitchen area and feed the kids that way, so, yeah.
yeah, fry your chicken at home, make
Fry the
make a
chicken
salad at home, and go to
exactly,
the
bring it over.
picnic.
Yeah. We just saved them more money, I think, yeah, they'll be happy with that, yeah. Anything else, any other public comment at this time?
No other hands are raised, Chair.
Okay, and, Mayor Cruz? Not seeing a hand raised. Well, great, thank you guys so much. This is exactly the kind of feedback we're looking for, we need to hear from the community, and, I mean, hopefully this is the first dog park. I'd love to see that. Yeah. So, okay, Kevin, let's see. Do you think I think that you have lots of notes, you have lots of feedback to me.
Is that all your, is that in the end of that?
Unless there are any other comments,
I have a list of questions here,
I'm gonna-
other locations.
right, so I'm gonna close the Baumgartner section unless there are any other comments or questions. They need any further?
I think depending on the timing of the project, there's a possibility we could bring it back to the committee. If you start wanting to move quicker, we may just have the council look at it. But
If that's possible, I think that's a really good idea. If it works out. with
Yeah,
timing, We can
okay.
have another, if they've got, you know, a little bit more of a preliminary drawing for us, then we can review that, give feedback.
then
Yeah. That sounds good.
So once we have,
Just one correction.
Oh, hold on, what about?
You said, let's hope this is the first dog park. No, let's hope that's number 2.
Yeah, that's, I don't know.
Let's hope that's
You want,
number
you
2.
want to put money down on this or give that down?
well, one thing, Kevin, is there any way you could talk him into doing the dog park first? Is that out of the question?
I can ask you anything, but I just,
It's really not a good idea from a development
look
standpoint.
at the construction.
Because you don't want people, you don't want people there abusing the privilege. It really needs, the best thing for parks is eyes on the street too, because it opens up vandalism, security issues, and then, you know, the police are patrolling places that are not like, trucking tackles, and that's a problematic as well, so, it's not really, yeah, it's not really doable. I wish it were, but
Yeah.
it's not really doable.
I was just thinking you might like it because be more people kind of around.
And then once they're doing construction, they don't want people.
But you're across the street, I mean, you are across the street.
Once you start construction, you don't want
It's
people.
too much
on
liability.
The traffic, and
Yeah, no, we don't want that. Equipment traffic, it's too dangerous. So. All right, you got your,
I do.
well, we'll see
Thank
it.
you, everybody.
Thank you. It's predicated on the drought. Sorry, go ahead, Ron. No,
She's the one running the
no,
program.
but Bob, what were you gonna say?
No, we were. I hope that's number 2.
Oh,
And the other
okay.
one. we-
No, well, we just have to settle a bet on, we'll just have to settle a bet on which one gets done. It's the ribbon cutting first.
Right.
Okay, $5.
We're on for a couple of.
We're on for a cup of coffee, there we go.
Oh, exactly. I'm a coffee, wow.
Well, no, we're like, yeah, this is the heavy betting crowd, it's like one cup of coffee at night. So, no. Anything else from the public or Mayor Cruz?
Mayor Cruz, do you have any other comments?
Here I am. I'm just fine. I'm on my phone and I'm looking for the unmute. So anyway, no comments. I think that all these comments are good. I believe we have a great relationship with the developer. I'm sure that we'll work all the concerns into their plan, and that's all we can hope for at this moment. And we just need to be patient. You guys been waiting for a long time, and I think we've finally seen light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I'm on my third Cloverdale dog, so it's going well. Okay, so Kevin, thank you for all your hard work on this and sticking with this, and City Manager Kelly. Really good work on this, and if at all possible, yeah, it would be great if we could bring the preliminary round B for this committee to review and invite everybody who's interested to give feedback on, kind of a little bit more solid.
I'll ask you for something a little more illustrative versus all the squiggly lines, maybe some color or something.
Tree, a tree.
Makes it a little easier to see.
Dog bowl, something like that. Okay, great. All right, and if there aren't any other questions on this item, I'll go ahead and move on. Okay, great. So there's item 5 is in the record book. So we'll go on to item 6 and standing items, small cell ordinance. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I'll be quick on this. The planning commission did review our proposed small cell ordinance, provided a number of comments. Our plan is to bring it to the council for introduction or discussion, however you feel about it, on September 7th.
Great.
And we'll include all the planning commissioners' comments. We have to do a little research on some of them. I'm not sure how far we can go with some of those things, but we'll make sure that they're all documented, presented to the council, so you can decide if you want to incorporate those changes. But that's pretty much it. We're shooting for September 7th. Is it the 7th, I mean, or the 6th or 7th? I think it's the 7th.
The 7th, yes.
Okay, great. Do any of our, either of our county commissioners want to give any input on the small cell after you deliberated it?
I don't have anything additional.
I'll just-
I'm just impressed with, the other county commissioners coming up for a while. I think they all. It's the-
I look forward to seeing your input on that. All right. Mayor Cruz, anything on small cell? Look forward to seeing it at the next meeting.
No
Okay.
comments.
No
We're
comments.
fine. Thank
Great.
you.
Great. And then we'll move on to item B, update on 6 Acres Water Company, South Cloverdale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I've been attending monthly meetings. We haven't had one since about a month ago. The next one's on August 24th. At this point, they're seeking consultants. They've gotten 2 proposals from GHD and John Ferrero Associates, and that was part of what they're going to do is hire a project manager, which is all paid for by the state to help work this through. Also, they're still pursuing the idea of getting sewer money as well as the water money. So it's the next meeting is the 24th. The last meeting was really talking a lot about how they're going to hire the project manager.
Great. So they're gonna have their own full-time staff person to shepherd this for
Yeah.
for them.
And engineer too.
An engineer. If you can find one, that is fantastic. Anything from,
No hands from Zoom, Chair.
the interesting item? Not nearly as interesting as ours. Great, well, that's that concludes B, thanks for the update, and then item 6C, dog park location. Besides what we were just talking about.
Well, even before, I've been here, I think, 3 years now, and I know that this has been going on a lot longer than I've been around. And I've worked with Elsa and others in the past, and COVID kind of, like a lot of things, kind of fell off the radar, but we did identify a few potential locations. So I don't know, I'd like to just hear what you guys have to say. I gave
We need to use the microphone. is that
Yes,
correct?
I was just gonna say, before you open it up to public comment, I'll pass around the mic, if you don't mind just raising your hand when it comes to that.
Okay, so I guess we've been chastised that people can't hear, and we'll need to use the microphone when that comes around. So I'll go ahead and turn it on. Right now.
I think when we left,
Also, let's get the mic.
Yeah, look at the microphone. like-
there's some copy through this last,
It does, it works.
Yeah.
just to bring you up to date, when we were in last met, we were looking at different locations. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Good. And Diane and I went to visit several locations, and, one of them was Dante's Bar. So we got nowhere, but anyway, so we've been looking at different locations. Last night, though, there's a location that looks quite interesting. It's at the end, and I've circled it here, if you guys want to look at that.
Can you bring it over so we can see?
I got this back on the thing. So it's right here where the water treatment is. I drove it this morning, the gate is wide open.
Well, that's so that you.
And you come over here, and all this side, right, backing up to the railroad track. It's quite interesting land. There's nothing there, because on the other side of the road is the water treatment. So
What
that is-
address is that?
I don't know the address, but I can give you, I can drive you there.
What's the name of the
It's at
street?
River Park at the front of the water.
No, see, this is, you know where the train station is? And so you go past the train station, towards the track.
Wastewater treatment.
Right.
Yeah.
That is very different. Yes.
Okay, the wastewater treatment, okay. Okay, that's the, that is the latest area that we found. Okay, but the other areas, we tried looking for at private property, locating the owners, the Caltrans, and never called us back. So we're back on looking for a spot. So like the gentleman said, I hope this is the first one, as opposed to the second one, because it seems like it's, the trees are there, it's heavily treed. area is there?
It's city owned.
That's my question. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I just discussed it
I
yesterday.
know, maybe David can help me out here. I know we own a piece. I just sent you a picture of the,
I have a picture on my phone.
it's not in the city.
Yeah.
That county?
Matter.
It's in the county. I mean, not to say that, you know, it's in our sphere of influence, so it could be annexed. It's
Well, and
more
actually, it
paperwork,
can be an
it's not-
exception area, it can be an island because it's one of the uses that qualifies to be.
It is a floodplain, though.
Yeah, to me, I'm like, that's a
It's a
great
drought.
part.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I
if that's-
don't, I don't think that that's a problem.
Well,
No.
certainly.
I know what you're talking about.
Not a problem right now.
It lessens the development potential, you know,
Which is great.
which is not really. but
If you drive it, if any of you guys care to drive it, the gate is open, just drive it. You just have to do a little back and forth to back out, so there's no place to turn around. It's just, you know, but it's an interesting area, and it backs up right into to the railroad tracks, and I know there's probably easement, you know.
Well, that's okay because I'm on that board, so.
It's a quite an interesting area to look at. If we can't get an area like that, then we're back to going to the master plan, the famous master plan of City Park,
Well,
where
I'm not, did you go and look at River Park as well?
I did, and there, that's my other
Yeah.
location, but you're back to putting something around houses, residential, and, people get very hostile.
It's but it's different because
It is.
in City Park, you have the homes that back to it and you have.
You don't know, if you look at the
And
corner.
at River Park, you don't have that.
No, if you go into the city park, if you're standing right in front of it, the baseball park is over there. The fence is right there. Behind it, there is vineyards.
Yeah, I know.
So that
But
little
then-
corner,
But then at the west side, you have those homes on the west side. That's what I'm saying, is you have people who come back to it on the west side. And it's much smaller. River, you don't have that problem.
that's far away, it's on the other side of the west side. We're talking the other side of the park.
I realize that, but I think it's more problematic.
Have you?
I go there all the time.
I do too, and I paced it out, and I looked at small dog park that would be perfect.
I walk my dog there all the time.
So there's already two fenced areas, so we only have to add two more. Make it quick.
I don't know that I can, this is the first that I've heard of this. I mean,
I have to look at that. I don't know. what-
Kevin, in the master plan, do you remember what the master plan was for the city park? right?
yeah, of course.
Okay. When they took the survey, and
Well,
you look
I know.
at it was, the interest was very high in adding a dog park.
I think that the interest and the need is definitely established. What I would want to do is maybe with your help and other volunteers, maybe we could just, I can give you a map. I think we kind of started down this road before.
I've done that.
Let's start, well, I know.
We have what? We have gone to places we've been chased out of.
I think that that's what's lacking here, is that much of this over the last 21 years that I've lived here, this has been looked at repeatedly, and every 5 years, a group of people get together and decide that they want a dog park, and they go, well, what about here? No, we've already looked at that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It happens over and over again, so it's like, what I would like to see is a staff report that just says, these are all the areas that we have considered, these are the issues with it, what would have to be.
Yeah, and then-
Yeah, and maybe a ranking or.
And also, I mean, it's like, man, if you got the money, I'd love to spend it, you got money to buy property.
Yeah, well, look at that, we talked about leasing, back then, we talked about leasing, the city leased it for 5 years, whatever. And, I even got the name and the address of the person that owns a really nice piece of property, on the corner of, you know, where the Clark Senior Citizen homes are there, behind them, and behind the.
Oh, there's a great, yeah.
That is an awesome place, but nowadays, everybody wants their land to make some money. And that's private property. And I said, you know what, I'm not even gonna go there. Because I got the name, and I think I emailed you, I needed some kind of authorization with her to contact these people, because I don't want them to think I'm a scammer, you know? But I didn't go any further on private property. And Don family never showed up, so after drinking many glasses of wine. So we.
Whatever showed up?
No.
No, we tried to get him to leave behind the,
Behind the car wash.
That's the one.
But no.
yeah, so you can never get a hold of him.
We won't budge. So that's why I'm looking at maybe this area, is a good area.
I don't know, I don't know.
Sort of, explore it.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to, I mean, it's not in town, but it's not a death nail, it's more paperwork, basically, if we want it to be in town. But I would suggest, and I know also we've kind of done this, but let's try to work together to do a list. And if
A list of.
a list of potential sites, and I think I might.
I want a list of stuff. I want that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a list of the ones that we visualized.
I have my bag open, thank you.
I'm going to use it.
Well, no, you're gonna have to do it at once.
No.
Here we go. Anybody else?
I'm good.
Go ahead.
Do you want a list of the ones that we're
Hold on, we're trying to make sure that people online can hear us too, so. it's like-
Right, I will make sure that they can hear.
No, we can.
I have no trouble getting my voice through.
That's what I'm saying, one at a time. So
Yeah.
it's very typical on Zoom, you have multiple people talking, so it's why we need to turn.
I think my personal major concern is the fact that you say 21 years, every 5 years. And my firm belief is if the city was truly 100% behind it, in the course of 21 years, something would have happened.
I disagree.
And so what is
tell you.
hanging it up?
Money. I'm sorry.
No,
There's money and resources.
answer.
And I think that's the answer is that we have looked high and low, far and wide, under the rug, and there's always a difficulty. We tried to get something done at the River Park, and the nature of acquiring the open space does not allow for, I mean, we went, I think you were late to the meeting and you're late to the movie too, unfortunately. We have been on this. I've been on this with 3 different groups of people. And it's so, before I was on council and now I'm on council. The idea that there isn't a will at the council to do a dog park is 100% incorrect. I'll tell you that right now.
Money issue, can't we address that in terms of, we want to get a fundraising committee together to get, is it money?
It's already been done.
And then we didn't raise any money?
Pardon me?
I think you need a site.
You need a site first.
There's some-
You need a site first. And we have tried and tried and tried, and we have not given up. And a lot of that has to do with Kevin and David, who are dedicated to this. So we want to work with you, but I gotta tell you right now, if you are gonna point fingers to the council or any leadership saying that we don't have a will to this is something all of us want. And we have said this multiple times in open sessions. We are dedicated to this. There are so many things that this community needs and that they're asking for. And it comes down to a very tight budget and a very tight tax base and a lack of available property at a price that we can afford. It's not that we don't want to do it. It's not that we don't share the community. It's not that we don't understand there's a need. I have the need. Gus has the need. Martha has the need. We all know this. We all enjoy other places, dog parks. You know, we take our dogs out of town to go to dog parks. And we are dedicated to this. This is a microcosm of all of the issues that Cloverdale has right now. We want nice things. We don't have a lot of money for it. Sorry, go ahead.
Madam Chair,
Just a moment, let's let the.
You mentioned River Park. Why can we not have a park in it?
Sure. Well, actually, Kevin, do you want to answer that because you are the community development director, so you can.
what was her question? I didn't hear her question.
The question is, and the deeper question is, why can't we have a dog park at the River Park? And this is a question that has come up repeatedly, and it's the same answer, and it is that it is not a legal use for how we acquired the property. So do you want to, or how the property was acquired?
Not only that, but that space is necessary for water department growth.
Yes, and so that's what I'm going to let Kevin answer.
Well, Sherry, I don't know if this is a picture that was going around. Yeah, so we did look into that with our wastewater treatment operator. And that area really is part of our expansion area for, and there's some other things with dogs being there, but I think the biggest concern was that in our plan to expand the water treatment deck. So.
I understand that. Yeah, okay,
I have another comment, if I may, Madam Chair.
go right ahead.
You know, the city wants very many things 100%, especially when it comes to having appropriate personnel to address the issues of the city. To this day, the city has not been able to get a technical engineering or a second engineer. The city has not been able to get additional personnel for enforcement. In addition, we have not been able to grow the police department anymore or to provide any services that are necessary. And those are priorities. And at this moment, we're also addressing issues of resiliency, preparedness, and not to react at emergencies, but to be ready for emergencies. That takes a lot of staff time, a lot of money. And as much as I would like a dog park, at this point, it is a priority that has to be on the back burner because of the situations that we are facing, not only with COVID, but with unemployment, community growth, and lack of a tax base to continue to grow our budget. So we can only do so much at 3.1 square miles. The space is very limited. And we have several property owners that are not willing to even enhance our downtown. So, you know, we're going to continue to look into it, and we're going to make sure that it's a place and it is the time that is appropriate and budget wise for the city. So we need to remember, we want many things 100%, and it has been tried. I myself personally can tell you, we lost a great engineer and I couldn't talk him out of it because he needed more support, and the city cannot afford to hire more people for the things that need to be done in this town. So as much as we want many things, we need to kind of continue to wait. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to be negative, but I'm just very realistic. And the more I learn about municipal budget, municipal needs, demands, and expectations, the more frustrated I get, because we want to move things forward, but we can't at this point. And we're trying hard.
I'll just point out that the way that much of the council responded was, we recognize, just a second.
I know, I'm just reminding you.
That this is a community priority. And the way that we have to do so many things in this community is we have to say, this is our priority. We're going to wait for our opportunity. And when the opportunity comes along, we're going to jump on it. And that's exactly what we did with Plumber. Exactly what the council did with Plumber. That is how a lot of the things we do happen. We have to wait until we set our priority. And then when the opportunity comes along, be able to pull together multiple either sources of money or resources, or we have to leverage every opportunity that we have. And that's exactly what we did with Fund Partner, because we gave that direction to staff, and when this opportunity came along, we jumped on it. So that's, I mean, I don't want to preach to you. I don't think I have to defend our position, because I think we have done everything that's possible, but I just want you to understand, it's like, we hear you, we want this too. We have very limited resources to do it. We have to a lot of times wait until opportunity.
But that's an honest answer.
That's your honest answer.
That's what
And that's why I want you to hear the truth. I want you to, this is where we're really at.
Yeah, and that's what you need to know.
Yeah. And I know it's frustrating, and it's not what you want to hear. It's not what the staff wants to get you either. They want, this is something that there's a need for. They want to be able to do this. We just have such limited resources. And so our options are very limited. What we have to do is set our priorities and the opportunities to become on it. And that's what this is, and hopefully it's the first step. How many dog parks do you want, Bob? At least two? At least two. Okay, okay, go ahead. And please use the mic so Marcus and Harry.
I understand budget. I understand lack of money. And this is why this new area would be nice. But I know it's gonna take money. It's gonna take new crews to go and maintain. However, the existing city park, further back, there's an area we can fit towards the back. Any little park, and I'm still looking at city park. I know we can go round and round saying, no, but it only needs is a couple of pieces of fence. And I know we can do a fundraiser and get somebody to do a fencing for us and all the benches, everything we need. That area is already maintained by the city, not gonna be any more special. Also, the further park one, when you say we can get a tiny, I'd love to have a tiny dog park at the vintage place, you know, we say with lettuce. But the tiny dog park, a small dog park, and a large dog park, in the city, existing city park. That's very doable, not that much money.
Well, you haven't even brought up the idea about what if some of the turf goes to, mulch and helps us actually save water, so.
Mulch is a priority in a dog park, because it's better. There's no mud,
It uses less water.
less water, less mud, less mess, everything. The other question that I had, if we do use city parks to this area off, what about the Measure M money that is supposed to be used to upgrade existing parks? This would be an upgrade to an existing park. We could use Measure M money at times. I don't even know what the status is of that.
Well, we do use it to help pay the staff, which is kind of one of our critical needs.
Maintaining park committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think just point out, there has, to echo what Chair Bagley said, there has been progress. I mean, we spent an hour tonight looking at the proposed dog.
Yeah,
So that's good. Now an item on this committee, and I'm willing to work with you to come up with a list, as Chair Bagley said, if that's still the direction, we can, and I think I saw one on the survey that old is probably still applicable. Come up with a list, pros and cons, and some kind of barriers,
Yeah.
opportunities, things like that at the start. I know it's been slow outside. I appreciate it.
Oh, COVID, no, I understand.
I just have a question. And I keep turning it off, I shouldn't do that. I'm just thinking, you know, power button, like, filter screen. Okay, I know, we just got this one. There we go. The mayor said that we've had this, and on the agenda for years, but haven't been able to do it. Why, I mean, I've been here almost 28 years now. Why, when they started Ferber Park, why didn't we look at it then? And I know you guys weren't here then, but that's my question. I mean, we started Ferber Park when I lived here. You know, I was here and I did not hear people lobbying for a dog park until I think it was about 12 years ago. I want to say 12 years ago. This is before I was on council and I was working at Factory too. I remember skateboard and dog park way back, 25 years ago. I remember a girl in town. There was a girl in town, a beautician, that tried to raise money for both of them, way back. But I kind of agree. I feel like the city has always blocked it. Always. I don't agree. I do. And we're the only, can I finish, please? We're the only. Actually, you know what? I'm the chair and I say no. Well, we're the only town in the county that doesn't have a dog park. You know, in the county of Sonoma. The fact is that I don't agree. I'm sorry to say that the city council has blocked this, not in the last 2 or 3 years. I'm not talking now. I'm talking maybe 20 years ago. I can't do anything. I know we can't, but I think it's been, that's why people are so frustrated. It's been years. Well, they haven't been, can you help me out? Sorry.
This is an open meeting.
Come on in. Yeah, no, I'm an employee at the library.
It's on us.
Oh, hi, come on in. No, well, then we're gonna have this difference of agreement, because even before I was on council, it was consisted of Bob, Carol, Joe, Gus, and who am I missing? That's it. They were all in support. Even just, oh yeah, back to Justin and Gail for sure. I don't know. So I don't agree. And so you can have your opinion, I'm gonna have
But
my
I'm
opinion.
not talking just city council, you know, I'm just talking the whole,
Well,
because you gotta go through city. government.
it's
And
like-
I do have another comment on Zoom. I've already hand.
Oh,
so-
great, let's go to Zoom. Who do we have?
We have Joseph. Joseph, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, hi. Yeah, I sent in, hi. I sent in a picture of a park and stuff that I think Irene was gonna put up for me.
Yeah. Wait, did you want this one first?
Yeah, that's it. And so I'm a new resident to Cloverdale, only like six weeks. I've got a little 9-month-old Portuguese water dog that loves to play fetch. And it seems like I couldn't find many places to play fetch. I ran into like the police sergeant who was walking his dog, and he told me, yeah, there's nothing in the city. He was walking around that big giant park close to Cloverdale City Park. Anyway, and then he told me about this meeting and stuff. So this is why I'm here, because I wanted to see about some of the stuff that I guess you guys have already been talking about, which was this Cloverdale City Park. So I just circled a couple places on here where you could easily put less than 150 feet of fence, and that would cost less than $1,000. And you could fence in a small area for people just to play fetch with their dogs. I've been there multiple times, and I've only ever seen people walking their dogs around the park. I've never seen anybody use that area of the park. I've never seen this. So I was just going to propose something like this. It sounds like you guys have already talked about it. But then the other option was, I was just going to say for, and so that's only like less than $1,000, but for $0, you could just say like, from 6 to 9 a.m., you can let your dog run around and play fetch in there, without a leash or something like that. So that gives somebody some time that the dog can run around and play in a park somewhere within the city limits, which is like something now. Like I know that there's some future dog parks, some other stuff that may happen, but like that's going to be years and years down the road before we see anything like that come to fruition. And then so I was just going to propose this, and you guys can talk about it. But I mean, it sounds like you guys have been wanting this for over 20 years. It sounds like, I'm not sure who the person with the microphone is. She's a councilwoman or something. Yeah, she's the she just said she's been hearing people say they want a dog park for over 12 years. So, and then in the same junction, I hear you guys saying that you're doing everything you can. And then the same thing, I hear the councilwoman with the microphone saying absolutely no for this Cloverdale City Park, but I'm not sure the reason. And so I just wanted to see, like, if you guys are behind it and you've been waiting for people have been saying for 12 years, at least under your hearing, why not just give us something at least temporary until you can build something else in the next 5 years or something, so we have some place to let our dog run around. Thank you.
That's a great question. But Joseph, I'm Melanie, by the way, nice to meet you. And I'll tell you right now, as far as the city park is concerned, as a council member, can you keep the conversation too, because it's hard for people on things to hear. So I'm sure that my staff member will chime in. We had an extensive community outreach before we did the city park master plan. So do you want to?
Yeah, I think.
And it's not like we're trying to say, oh, well, that feature is not a part of the city park. That's not what we did extensive community outreach citywide and with the neighbors, and it wasn't part of what people responded with for city parks specifically. And so that's, if you're hearing some pushback on that, it comes from extensive community outreach on that point regarding this specific location. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time, a lot of community outreach developing a master plan for this park. And what was, a dog park was not included. So all the projects that we try to get done in this park, we try to have comply with that plan. The plan is a result of, as you said, lots of public outreach and many hearings and adoption. So, we feel like we should really look at things that conform with that plan moving forward.
But how are we gonna keep Kevin?
Wait, can I just have a quick response, please?
So this is Joseph's turn, so we're gonna let him go first. Thank you.
Just a quick response. So, I was just gonna say, so, I mean, that's fine, but like currently now, I don't know if you've heard of pandemic puppies, but like a lot of people have gotten dogs probably since you put this park in. And also all the people here that are wanting the park are sort of a community response now. And if you want, like I had emailed one councilman, like maybe I can drum up a petition to see if this thing could go through. And if you get enough, I don't know what your cutoff would be. I've never done something like that, but how many signatures you might need. But I passed several people in the, like every dog walker I saw, I was like asking them, where can I take my dog? And they're like, I wish we had a park. So like, I feel like I saw 10 people on the street that I tried to talk to about this, and seems like there's interest. I just don't know what the interest, if there's opposing interest where people say, no, absolutely no way you can change this park or put up a little fence right there because it just doesn't seem like it's even used. Like the area on the left that I put a square around, there's like, it's not even really mowed there. It's just sort of like a little blob of land, which would be like perfect. Sorry, this dog is barking at me. Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, it seems like the easiest, quickest thing that you could do. And I'm maybe not when you put up this park, people weren't even thinking about a dog park. I know I didn't think about a dog park until I had a dog. So maybe just, there's just more interest now, and people in this room are very interested. So maybe we can think about it and see if there's an amendment we can do this park, or if you need signatures, we can go that route, and we can go down to the Friday night music thing and get some signatures, and people in this room could help collect some, and we can get that. Oh, and that's a second.
There's a go right there. Before I open it up to the rest of the group, this is something very interesting, and that is the idea that you would have specific hours for a dog-friendly event or something like that, or park hours for a dog. I think that's for dogs. I think that's really interesting. Or you could you could stack the uses.
Yeah.
I'm not usually the kind of person who's like, well, this is the plan, this is what, we said we were going to do. But I have to respect the master plan for that park, that process, because it was an extensive outreach, and the neighbors and people throughout the city gave input on what they wanted to see City Park be eventually. And if you were hearing resistance on my part or Kevin's part, I'll tell you straight up front, it kind of goes back to the conversation. The very frank discussion earlier is that limited resources, and do we want to invest in infrastructure, limited though it may be, in something that doesn't conform with the long-term development of that park and the long-term uses? And I think so I'm just going to be straight up front with you. I think if you're hearing resistance, that's it, is that we did extensive public outreach to develop that master plan for the park. We know what people have asked for and what they want and where they want it. And so if we even do something temporary that spends taxpayer money on something that might be obliterated later or not needed in 2 or 3 years when we have another dog park at Baumgartner Ranch, for example, you're responsible for how we spend those taxpayer dollars. And so if you're hearing some resistance to that, that's my concern. Does that make sense, Joseph?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't know how long ago this park was built, but
Decades. How long? How old was the park? 100 years.
I mean, it's just such a beautiful park with the trees. I just thought, like, well, maybe we could do a new community outreach and ask some people what they would mind in the park. Or like I said, just the $0 answer is free, is the hours. And I mean, I'm willing to throw in, you know, $500 towards the fence and start that fundraiser there if you
That's
want.
a really interesting idea.
Madam Chair,
For agenda for the, let's have that for agenda for,
Madam Chair,
yes, Madam Mayor.
would it be appropriate to share the study and the amount of money that the study cost and the fact that there are legalities that the city has to abide
Let's bring that
by
back.
also?
Can we bring that to, and actually, at the next meeting, when we're talking dog park, and we're talking site, can we look at what the master plan, look at the master plan, what was done to develop it, and kind of if there's any additional background on Clover or Vintage Meadows, that would be helpful as well. And maybe even, can we include park in that, or, oh, no, that's not really considered a potential site, but. Okay, so let's see, one at a time, and then you use the microphone so the mayor can hear you. So who wants to go first? You want to go first? Yeah.
I have actually an easy question. When was the survey done?
On the
what city park?
Okay.
And secondly, just a thought. Have the demographics in Cloverdale maybe changed in the last 10 years? In other words, different people moving in, different ideas, more pets, more younger children, more different races, you know, I mean, all sorts of things. Because Healdsburg is not the same town that it was 15 years ago. So why are we assuming that Cloverdale and a master plan that was developed possibly more than 5 years ago?
It was adopted in 2018.
Yeah.
Oh, it's new, okay, so then it's a valid, that's why
That's why we're kind of like, yeah. Sorry, can you go ahead and Elsa, can you come through? And then everybody you can sanitizer.
You know, when I first heard about the master plan, I went and picked up a copy, and I think Kevin was kind enough to get his staff to send me a copy that was about this. I went through it. I looked at the survey. I looked at the plan. I looked at everything. And it lists all the, the question is, what do you want from the city? And they listed it all, and have little graphs and stuff like that. Well, the 10 major ones were there. One of the major ones was the dog park. It was there. And then when I went to the meeting and asked, okay, because I looked at the plan, I said, well, where is the dog park? The interest was there. It was there. They said, oh, no, the engineer was the one who said, well, we didn't do it, but for whatever reason, washed away. So you're saying that the interest wasn't there?
I can say that.
Well, I didn't say that. What was it that you said, what the reason is that you couldn't, or was it maybe Kevin who said?
Instead of rehashing all what this and that, why don't we just make a commitment to try to move forward?
At the city park?
I think as part of our list, we have City Park and we have the other parks, we have raw land, we have the land the city owns. I'll commit some time to it, and Chair Bagby said, I mean, we're very
Yeah.
that, but I mean, I would rather do something like that than try to go back and say what happened 4 years ago, and you said this and that. I don't.
Also, if I may.
I have a little wheel, let's go.
Well, Kevin can, Kevin cannot make any promises to anyone in the community. This has to be processed.
We can have a.
So
we can have a-
let's keep it within the limits. So Kevin,
Mayor?
it's okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. So, you know, if I lived next door to this park and I had people come and say, I want to put a dog park up against your back fence, I think I'd have something to say about it. I might say, I like dog parks, but I don't want one at my back fence. And I may be right, I may be wrong. But the master plan was a result of extensive public outreach and input. And so, and there was, and I believe, I don't have any reason to doubt, I spent a long time since I read that master plan, and I
I
don't
remember
remember.
it.
Sure, and so, and I think pickleball was also, you know, one of the items.
Pickleball, bocce ball,
Yeah,
volleyball, it was all the and dog park. And then
and when you go to make a plan for it, all those things get bounced and stuff.
I mean, dog
Yeah.
park versus bocce ball.
Yeah, I hear you. You would vote, you know, you would vote for dog park, and we also would vote for basketball. And that's what we're talking about here, so.
I do both.
I agree, I can actually do both. Usually with a beer, that would be my preference, but yeah, so, you know, I mean, I hear you, and I hear you, you know, you wanna put it in there. A lot of other people have interest as well, a lot. I mean, I remember hearing somebody say, well, nobody goes and plays volleyball there. I'm like, that's not true. People go and play volleyball at that city park all the time.
They use it, I agree.
They agree, yeah, they
Plenty
use
of
it.
room there for a dog park.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
So, and,
And
you know,
many other people's opinions too.
and a lot of other people too, and a lot of other people want this and want this desperately, but a lot of other people want to make sure that it's preserved for barbecuing and baseballing. You know, it's the only place where the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and it's the best barbecue. Everybody agrees it's the most beautiful park anybody could ever hope for. And we want to make sure that we can preserve that as a, well, I hope that we're going to be barbecuing at City Park for many generations to come, because it's one of the most pleasant places. And to say that things change and I'm going to put a dog park there instead. Yeah. Well, I don't agree. I want a dog park, but I'm not going to agree to that. That's my opinion. And that's my opinion. And that's my opinion. And that's what city government is all about, is getting everybody's opinion.
Yeah, we need to do, I guess, I'm gonna get together with the gentleman Joseph.
Joseph. Yeah, Joseph, get together with Elsa.
We need to email, no more petitions, we email city council now, and we inundate them with emails. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's effective. Yeah, okay. So any other comments or input on this item? Bill, can you use the mic?
Well, somebody just unmuted me, but I'll wait.
Yeah, can we let Bill have his turn? And then
Yeah,
we'll-
of course.
Actually,
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't see your hand, sorry.
Oh, no, somebody did it. I don't know who did.
I just recall the discussion at the planning commission when that master plan came up, and there was an extensive list of very popular items, but it just kind of came down to what you could fit in that space that was compatible with other things. And the dog park was discussed, probably at length, as well as the volleyball and the bocce ball courts. But it is not a big park. It's a fairly compact piece of land, and it, you know, that was the choices that someone got made. It didn't make the cut. It wasn't that anybody was against it, it was just the competing uses.
Prioritize. That was up to the planning commission.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
Sandra, did you have anything else? I don't remember. You might not have been on yet. Yeah.
I just agree that part of the staff report would be great.
Yeah.
Because then you can visually see everything that's going on. And one of the things I've heard is funding is an issue, but I know how much it's gonna cost, how much it's gonna cost to maintain it. Maybe as a group, we can work with those fundraisers, we can have that money in. But without knowing those dollars, we're about to in limbo.
Right, and if we have, it's something that you have to build a consensus around. There are certain neighbors who don't want to use, like at Vintage Meadows. And I'm not saying that the neighbors of City Park feel this way, but again, we have a master plan that has the input of, you know, that's only 2018, that has the input of the entire community. And what's in the master plan is what rose to the top. Not, you know, people saying, well, I want this, and you're gonna put it in this park after all the community input was done. That's as a council member, I take issue with that, because we got community input and we figured out the planning commission and a lot of community input that these are all, these are the laundry list of the things we want, this is what we can do. So, sorry, go ahead.
You mentioned Ferber Park, and you did. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, I want to bring this back to the next planning and sustainability subcommittee meeting and look at all of these locations and what the barriers were, what the advantages are, and then what it would take. And I hear, that's right, it reminds me that Joseph is next. Go ahead, Joseph.
Okay, so I just wanted to know, I wanted to know what, because the mayor and you, sorry, I forgot your name again. Melanie, seem very against this possibility. So I just wanted to see, like, what is it, like, what would I need in order to overcome the few people that live around the park that may or may not want this? Like, if I had 200 signatures,
It's not my opinion. You know what I take issue with? I take issue with circumventing the voice of the community, that their temperature has already been taken on that. That's what I take issue with. We
Right,
have
so-
a master plan that had a massive amount of community input and support.
It sounds like they, sorry, but it sounds like they wanted a dog park. I just wondering if now we can do another, I can just go around and see how many signatures I can get for like having a dog park or dog park hours. And if there's, I'm just wondering what would be enough to tell you, oh, the community would be okay with this. And I would allow like the change to add like a fence or something like that. Or
So you're suggesting, okay, so you're free to do that. That's your choice. But, you know, I hope that you would come to the next meeting when we're going to take a look at the master plan, which was the result in the agendas. I think you'll see all of the public input that was put in as to what people want for city parks. So at that point, you can choose, you know, how you want to move forward as part of the democratic process.
I don't know. I'm asking you what the process was like. Is that a process where I would, if you were saying that I took this temperature of the community like in 2018, and I was like, well, can we take it again now? And will that change your opinion? Like, is that what I do? Is that the process, or that doesn't do anything? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll let Kevin answer.
Joseph, I appreciate your enthusiasm, and you're coming into this with there's a lot of history, but I think the best way, in my opinion, is let's start working on this list and letting this committee go through each potential site and go from there. Maybe whittle it down to 2 or 3 and go from there. But I mean, Councilmember Bagley is right. We do have a master plan for 2nd Street Park, and it's a big effort. It's money and time and community input, and so I think we've been trying to really stick with what's in that plan is what the improvements are for the future of that plan. Not to say that's a bad idea, but as we develop the list, that could certainly be one that's on the list. And I'm be looking to also and others to help me with this effort.
Is there a way to get the hours thing looked at?
Yeah, I've already agendized for the next meeting. I mean, I think that's
Okay.
a great idea.
Joseph, if you know of other cities that are doing something similar to that, please, you have my email. Email me that.
Yeah, it's kind of like rock and roll.
Yeah, I'll be looking for other cities, for an example, looking at insurance things and the boring stuff. But I'll definitely look into it.
Okay.
No,
I just-
his name is, what's his name, Dennis? Or-
Joseph.
Joseph, on Nextdoor, we created a page for the dog park, future dog park. I don't know if they're on Nextdoor or not, but if you can sign up to that and give us your ideas, this is a page created for the community to throw the ideas, and I love your ideas. So if you could look that up at Nextdoor, it's attached to Facebook, I think, of the community of Cloverdale, it's called. Our site is called the Cloverdale Community Dream Dog Park.
Okay.
And if you could go in there and give us your ideas, that sounds great, and we can talk our contact numbers are there. Kelly and I are the ones that created that page. So I'd like to talk to you about your ideas.
Yeah, and our next meeting is October 28th at 4 p.m. I don't know if we'll be here or not, but be sure
Plenty
to,
of time.
be sure to check the agenda for the location, because with COVID, things do
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
thanks.
anything
I was just-
else?
No, yeah, I was just trying to offer the best suggestions based on the fact that you guys were saying no money or low money, and then that you guys been trying to do this for so long. I just thought those seemed like the best options, especially if you guys really want it for the community, then that seems like the easiest, fastest thing to do. I hope these other sites work out in the future, but I still think we're waiting at least 4 or 5 years, no matter what happens. So that's all.
No, Bob and I have a bet on that. So we're gonna see how that goes. But anything else on this item? Mayor Cruz, did you have anything to add?
No, just a comment for the public to understand that there are processes that take place in city government. And unfortunately, people don't think about it until it hits them personally. And we really need to understand that the master plan is not only for City Park, but it's for the city as a whole. It's a vision. And unfortunately, there are many things that are not easy to change. And there's a lot of liability on all this too. And unfortunately, we live in a country that everything is a sue. It's a litigation. So all these things have to be taken into account for the safety of all. So it's not that we're negative or against the dog park. It's just that, as Chair Bagby explained, there are many priorities and many needs that the city is focusing on. And this will continue to be an ongoing issue that we want to resolve and we would like to have for all of us. Most of us on city council are dog owners, and we have suffered the same as you. We've gone to Lake Sonoma, to Windsor, etc., to take our dog. But we have to work with what we have. We have 3.1 square miles. We have the budget that we have, and we have the results of a survey that was inclusive and it was widely distributed. So now we have to see how this can come about, and all these surveys and so on, they don't come easy. It's not just an opinion on social media. It goes beyond that. So I would like to see Kevin in the next meeting, perhaps the sample of what happened and the cost that it was involved, and the goodwill of city staff and city council, as well as the community. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just wrap up on that. Just the characterization that we're anti-dog park or against doing something at City Park, I would counter by saying I'm supporting the input from the community on that master plan, because there are a lot of interests, there are a lot of things that people wanted, and we did the work, spent the money, spent the staff time, and came up with a master plan that will serve this community for the future. And I believe the best long-term use of our very scarce taxpayer dollars. If I could snap my fingers tomorrow and have a dog park in the community, I would. No question. If I had one thing that I could just snap my fingers and do for this community, I would do it. But that's not how things get done. They get done through hard work and compromise and wide community input and support. And I'm not going to get rid of a use or put or inconvenience a property owner or a neighbor. It's like if we came in today and said, well, yeah, let's just convert the baseball field to a dog park. That's plenty of fun to do. That'd be great. That's great, right? We have an idea. Well, guess what? People would burn my house down, and I would have a place to go watch football. So
No,
that's
no,
how
no,
we can
that's all,
share.
the point I'm trying to make, is that, we have limited resources, we've already had community input, and I respect those people in the community and the job that staff did, and the job that our consultant did and previous councils did to develop that master plan. So I'd like to respect that going forward and try, if we can be innovative, if we can be original. I love the idea of doing dog park hours and stacking a youth. I think that's a great idea. And so I'm gonna bring all of these ideas back to a future meeting, but I also think that we need to have that running list and bring it to every meeting. This is the research that we did on the property. These are the barriers, this would be the expenses, and this is what would have to come next, so that when people come with this passion for this dog park, they can see all of the footwork that's already been done and what we've already tried, so we're not chasing our tail, sorry to use that phrase, but we're not, running in circles on this issue over and over again. I think we need to have an effort where we bring everybody up to speed on all the work that's been done, all the efforts that have been made to say, this is where we are, and then this is how we move forward instead of kind of constantly going back and rehashing history. So unless there are any other comments on the dog park location, I'd like to move to item B, update on the community development planning law.
Madam Chair,
Oh, Mr. Cox,
you didn't finish item number C, or letter C.
that's dog park. I didn't finish.
I have a full line there.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Go ahead.
And that's why I'm here.
I'm so sorry. Oh, why didn't you raise your hand?
Because we didn't got the second part of
Oh, for heaven's sake.
line C. And this is opening the cemetery to dogs.
Oh, is that on? That's not
That's
on.
what's on mine. Standing item 6C, dog park location, opening of cemetery to dogs.
Mine's cut off.
Yeah, I guess.
Cut off.
Would
Is that the previous copy or is that?
you like to see?
You did mine. It's on yours.
Where's the one on one?
I don't know there you go.
And that's why I'm here.
Okay, oh gosh.
And
It's on
to
your
be,
agenda to go for it.
to be short and sweet, I think it's a bad idea. There's a sign at the beginning of the cemetery, says no dogs allowed. Yeah, that's nice, and people still they walk their dogs there. And the reason that no dogs are allowed is because there are plots where people are buried. And that would be desecrating their property. It'd be very difficult to keep a dog on the path and do it business, and who's gonna clean the dog?
I do, because I walk my dog and
I appreciate that, and some do, and probably most do, but some don't. I spent a lot of time in that cemetery doing work, of all kinds, so I'm very conscious about what happens there. There's not a lot of neighbors that keep an eye on that neighborhood, it's only the people that actually go into the cemetery that really see what goes on. There's more than just dog walking, as you know. There we have our local homeless that come and go and they're back again. I'm fully against having,
can I tell you why you're on the agenda?
yeah, please.
All right, so, and it must have been on an earlier version, is that the, I don't know what happened. but it was-
No, I apologize. Yes, I printed the word
Oh.
original, not the final.
Okay, the reason I had it put on the agenda is that I called Al and I asked him what he would think about reopening it, and he was in favor of it. And he was supposed to come to the meeting where it was on the agenda and kind of talk about that he would support that. That's why it's on the agenda.
All right, and we do see people walking their dogs.
Right.
While we are there, generally they behave.
Yeah.
But we're not there 24 hours a day.
Well, and originally, what I understand from Alan, he gave me the background on this, is that it was brought to the council to ban dogs from the cemetery, which is really upsetting me. I live right there.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to take my dog, and as soon as they put the sign up that says no dog, I'm not gonna violate it. Not just because I'm on the city council, but because that's just how I am. So I stopped taking my dog. I walk the cemetery very rarely, because I'm rarely down there without my dog. So I've only, my frequency, frequenting the cemetery has gone way down since that time went up. And that's the same for my my neighbors, they kind of told me the same thing, is that sometimes they feel, they're like, well, it's okay, you know, I'm like, well, I don't see anybody around, so I just walk my dog up on the leash, and I do walk the hill, and I walk it down. But there were people who talked with me in my community, in my neighborhood, who were really offended, and they were like, you know, we really kept an eye on things. If we saw a problem, we called the police. We were eyes on the site. And when the dogs were no longer allowed in there, it was like 2 weeks after dog walking was banned at the cemetery. So it was one of the worst incidences of vandalism that's ever occurred at the cemetery. And I think personally it was because there weren't as many people there. And I think that that's a problem. Also, I'm very, very sensitive to the idea that, or the fact that these are people's final resting places and that it's a sacred space. But I also think that, for the most part, if you put it, and I actually am not, so I talked with Al first, because, you know, he's the caretaker there. I mean, he's the one who, and he said he completely supports allowing dogs back. And he said that, you know, when he and his folks are there, or when his people are there, the people do come in and they look the other way, they let people come and walk their dogs there. I also met with Eric in city engineering and with Hector, and they said that they would be able to put a dog fountain, the dog bag sign, and the trash can and sign saying what the rules of the road were at the cemetery. In fact, this is a publicly held piece of property owned by the city, the citizens of Cloverdale, and people should have access to it. So that's why I put it on the agenda. And I'd be happy to, if maybe we re-agendize this and invite Al to come in and speak to the.
Yeah, and David might wanna, we did call Al today as well. Actually, his thoughts were that, the more people walking together, the better, just because of the homelessness. That was his.
That is a great argument. I like that.
But Bob, I want to ask you, do you recall if the council took a formal action to indicate that? Okay.
There was a vote.
Okay.
I spoke against it. I was on the council, so.
Okay, so they did take, so we have to.
So, Marta, any other, questions regarding this item? I think we're going to end up bringing it back because we need to have input from Al.
No, I'm gonna have to leave at 6:15.
Okay, all right.
I
Well,
have an appointment.
okay, we're wrapping up. Not seeing any, so let's just bring it back to the next item.
Okay.
But, Linda, did you have any
Quick
input?
question.
Go ahead.
The idea that this young man said about sharing timeframes, blah, 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 the parking stuff. And you mentioned the little place, getting the baseball park. Why can't we use the baseball park area early in the morning to run our dogs? And like 7 to 9 or something like that, just run the dogs. Take up there for the dogs, some people are already doing it, but how about if we do that idea?
Let's add that to the
About-
agenda.
about
We can hear from
sharing.
Parks. We can hear from Parks next time.
Doing double duty on these places, and that's my big area.
Yeah, let's bring that back. So let's bring the cemetery question back up. So did you do anything else that Al had added? Because, and that was kind of that's what I said to Al when I called him and asked him if he'd be open to it. I was like, it would be better if we have more people walking there and keeping it safe and with their cell phones and recording anything suspicious, more people, more neighbor people watching out for.
He was concerned about the dogs going to the bathroom, and, he said he would not support it without a bag dispenser in the place to put it, when you came out. But,
And that was what I had discussed with Eric and Hector, and there is a place for water and a water fountain right at the entrance, and then he was talking about where he cites the trash receptacle and the bag.
And the sign that says no digging.
Yeah, the sign that, I know
There's
that,
no digging.
and I think that there should be, and maybe that's something we can agenda too, a sign of very clear rules.
yeah.
Very clear rules that this is a sacred, yes, the taxpayers of the city of Cloverdale own this property, however, it's a sacred
By
space.
default, I got it.
By default,
They didn't
and
want it.
it's a sacred space, and we want you to come here with your dogs and enjoy this, but here are the rules. And if you can't, then you're gonna be asked to leave.
Madam
Oh,
Chair.
great. Oh, thank you.
Hi, Jeannie, you can unmute yourself and make your comment.
Uh-oh, your better half is on the line. Here we go.
I am speaking on my own behalf and no one else. I also think you should survey the people that own the property in the cemetery, what their wishes are. People own those plots. They maybe haven't filled them yet, but we are the property owners. So just for your information.
Oh, thank you, Janie. That's great. Thank you. And David, did you have anything else?
Madam Chair, just a couple of thoughts. I think the subcommittee, covered the discussion well. Just want to reflect my losing battery power. The sentiment that you expressed was to encourage additional visitors to the cemetery. Since I think council took action to restrict dogs at the cemetery, we've seen a rise and increase in other activity. And it was a way, when we evaluated the perspective of kind of relooking at the cemetery, it is, I think, an opportunity to get additional visitors to what's really a tremendous resource and asset for our community. It's not a traditional park by any means, but it is it's a cherished asset and resource. And the main trail that walks through it, can be a great source of enjoyment for visitors. And if the direction is to look at reestablishing its use as a dog park, we can certainly do it as a pilot project.
I don't think it could be considered a dog park.
No, not a dog park. But I mean,
Where dogs are welcome on leash.
right, dog friendly. And I wasn't.
See the
I'm
headline,
sorry.
I can see the headline now, David.
But to test it as a pilot project where we install signage, because dogs still have to be on leash, so they shouldn't be allowed to roam freely. And then there could be again the appropriate signage with the appropriate amenities, including doggy bags that could be provided. And again, assuming you want to move forward, we do it as a pilot project. Make sure and address what are the potential impacts, because we don't want to see any of the graves impacted. Obviously, that wasn't the intent. And it provides another resource and asset for the community. And we do want visitors, I think, to see this tremendous historical space within our city, and walking around and being able to do that with your pet. I think there is some concern I've heard expressed about security, and we want to have eyes on, and sometimes folks with pets, having your dog with you, does provide that security that sometimes is needed, or gives you that feeling of security. So that I can certainly understand folks wanting to be able to bring their dog to the space, and we think we can do it in a way that's sensitive to the current use and the historical use, but also allow for greater visitation by our population.
Great, thanks, David. That helps, thank you.
We can put it on the council agenda or bring it back here.
Let's bring it back here one more time.
And have it out.
Yeah, we can kind of do all things dog. I like that, I like it.
Turn this into the dog committee.
Works for me. All right, so that works pretty well.
Great.
We'll talk about it again. Great. So with that, may I move on to item D? Thank you. All right, so, all right, is that?
Yes.
Okay, on community development law, sorry about that.
Yeah, I'll just be brief. I know we're running late here. We have to go. But we have a couple items coming for the planning commission next time. So we've got a pretty full agenda moving forward, probably for the rest of the year. We got 3 planning commissioners here, so I'm not gonna, you don't wanna talk about projects, but there's three of you here, so
No,
let's leave it
I'm
at
moving
that.
right along.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to move on to closed, so should we go to item E, climate change, sustainability, project technologies, and smart water metering devices? I have a specific question that I.
yeah, I think there was, what was the other item on the other agenda?
Was there something else,
Can you, I
Irene?
think there was a second part to that. Sonoma Clean, the Energy Center. For the smart metering devices, I spoke to David, and it seems like an eligible use of the recovery funds, start getting
Okay,
new water meters. So we're developing a list of things for the council, so consider for that money, that could be on there. And then for the, and I'm sure you may have something else to say, Madam Chair, but the Advanced Energy Center, I just want to say that Commissioner AC has invited everyone to come down for a special tour with him as the director, so people are interested, just let me know as a coordinate that.
and they've also offered to have that as a place for training, meetings, so if we wanted to do a council retreat or something like that, because they have a full meeting room, or, or actually, I mean, it's a meeting room and an education center, so we can, you can do trainings with, you've got multiple screens and great desks and the whole thing.
Yeah.
You can use it as a educational site for anything that council may need. Kind of back to the technologies, the smart water metering devices, is that, we already have a contract with a particular provider, and I'm just wondering how, and if it dovetails with, the Bloom product, which is, consumer level product.
Yeah,
Because and the reason I think I got to talk with you about it is that Ilford was doing that $100 rebates for Bloom, just to get it into the hands of people that are in what their water consumption was. And then that is our goal is to move forward with an existing vendor
yeah,
for smart metering.
David, I'm gonna have to ask you to help me on this one, because I'm not totally up to speed on the smart meter contract. I know we were talking about it, I'm not sure the status.
He might have run out of battery. No, he's there.
I'm here. I just didn't hear, I didn't hear the last part of the question.
Are we in contract with someone for smart meters, or are we still talking about that?
We are, I mean, they're not technically characterized as smart meters there, but they are electronic registers. And what this enables the city staff to do is read the meters via electronic devices. There's kind of an advanced phase of the project where those meters would then read to a cell provider and then be able to report that data to the customer. Really, that's kind of phase 2 of the project after we've completed the installation of the electronic registers, which is it's an ongoing process. So once we it was actually the process of changing to electronic registers is currently we've identified is really about a 3-year project to cover the entire city, largely based on budgeting and the expense, the cost of doing the work. If council wanted to prioritize, getting all of the meters, switched to electronic registers quicker, we could certainly do that, and we probably want to enlist the assistance, some outside support to be able to accomplish it and get it done quicker. But really, again, getting back to the question, that's kind of phase 2, where once we've got coverage on the electronic registers, then we move to a system where that data is then reported directly or available directly to customers.
In the vein of supporting the mission of this subcommittee, which is planning and sustainability, I guess kind of my only outstanding question is, what's the most effective, cost-effective, and fastest way to get the information in the hands of the customers so that they know what their usage is? That's my question. So, and so I hear you that it sounds like it would take a year or two to implement a system where we could transmit the data, it gets the data transmitted to the customer so that they have real-time information. And I'm just wondering if even just promoting, and I keep using Flow because that's the only one I know about. I'm just, that's all, and so in the middle of the route, all I'm saying is it worth additional investment to even just mention that as an option to customers so that they get real-time information on what's going on with their water meter. That's just sort of, you know, kind of near-term, long-term advantages is what I'm looking to balance.
Yeah, I think we can.
Madam Chair, I think you're absolutely right that we could, as a city, promote, you know, some of the existing technology like Flume that's available for, you know, customers to purchase and be able to provide that data real time to their, you know, their iDevices or, you know, their other handheld devices.
And I know that we have a lot of things that we want to spend that federal relief money on, but to me, you know, just considering that $100 rebate for a $200 loan to Cloverdale ratepayers, that's a lot of bang for a small amount of bucks. And so that's just before we spend all that money. So that's what, and I'm not saying that that's what I want to do. I'm saying those are the kind of things that I want to consider that are, you know, very little cash outlay, helping bring awareness to it for ratepayers and getting it in their hands right away during the drought.
Yeah,
And if there's other ideas along that line, other technologies, this is the time to look for those.
we could consider eliminating the neighborhood, the grant for utility relief, which is $100.
That kind of,
Or including that, I don't know, we have to explore that. But give that as an option instead of, you know, we still are administering $100 utility relief. Not as much as we were, but it's still occurring, but use some of that money to all use for that. Yeah. $5,000.
yeah, that's good to get started. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm looking for. If we could have a kind of a,
I'll
just
check that out.
a thumbnail at the next meeting, that would be appreciated. Is there any public comment on this?
There's probably, you know,
Yeah, okay. So let's move on to Rena, Rudy's favorite subject.
we did not, this is the regional housing needs assessment. I know the commissioners are still. It's not finalized. Some cities are challenging the arena, including Windsor. That's the only local city, other cities in the Bay Area. So they have till the 30th to provide comments on the challenges. But really what's going to shake out is for Cloverdale, it's going to be 74 very low income, 43 low, 45 moderate, and 116 above moderate for a total of 278. We haven't disputed it.
And this project is going to get us really close to that.
This project is kind of unique because it was in the county when it started. We have to actually come up with an agreement. The county gets some of the credit for those units, and then depending on when they're actually built, it may be the current rate or the next rate. But these numbers aren't all that high in my opinion. So, you know, we are going ahead probably on the next council meeting awarding our contract for the housing element. So these are going to be the numbers. We're going to be talking housing more and more. Everyone's excited about that, I'm sure.
All right,
I do have a question regarding the RENA.
go ahead, Sandy.
So on the RENA numbers, when there is a housing process, and you have certain numbers that are allocated for low income, you know, you have your various income.
Yeah, I need to do that. Oh, boy. You're getting that age.
Okay, so on your RENA numbers, you have different income levels that we have to meet. When a project comes in, and say for instance, we met this quote, we met this one, but we haven't met some of the other ones. As a planning commission or as a group, how does that work as far as our input? To say, you know what, we already have this type of income level? Or can we instead have it for
Yeah,
maybe moderate or for low? How does that work?
yeah, no, I get your question. I mean, most of the affordable housing projects are very low or low income, and there's positive money for that, and that's really the thing. They get the tax credit financing, which pushes them into one of these two categories. So when they're getting, 90% of their money from this positive funding source, the likelihood of them trying to change that to say, all right, I'll do 5 less low income, I'll do 5 moderate, it's going to be probably pretty low. It's really about the money. I mean, we can ask, but typically the tax credit finance low income housing projects require all the units to be either low or very low. So there's a lot of money there out there these days. That's why there's a lot of projects trying to get through it. At this point, there's states a lot of money in the federally funded program too. So unless it was just if it was like a mixed subdivision, and they were trying to meet we have an inclusionary housing requirement, we have more negotiating levels there versus, we're just trying to qualify for a certain pot of money, which is really.
So then that's another question that I have. And say, for instance, you have a development project, a housing project, and they did receive funding to do whatever it is, a very low income. And so that's where it's restricted funding, which we know. So we have to go to that. So now this other portion of it, let's just say 50% of it. Now, how does that work as far as our say into those agreement numbers? Because here it's restricted funding, so I really don't have a say, especially with that 330 bill that comes into effect, that limits our power. So how does that work on this section of it?
Well, just say it was like what we call a market rate project, where they were just building to sell homes or whatever price they could, part of the market. Part of that, our requirement for that would be the inclusionary requirement, which would be 15% affordable. During our negotiations, we could, steer them into a certain category, low, moderate, very low, to meet agreement numbers that we haven't achieved yet.
Right.
But I mean, just from my experience, typically, if it's a for sale product, it's typically unmoderate income.
So what if it's
If it was, then we have more leverage. Yeah, we have more, I don't know if leverage is the right word, but they'd be more willing, I think, to listen and select the categories in which we were deficient. I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
That's a really good explanation. Because it's like a dark science.
I haven't been doing it in a long time.
I know.
Don't know it all, but typically the moderate is the one that every city can't achieve. If there's just no money for it, and the only way you get it is with big subdivisions. All right, we'll make 20 of these over here, a sale for moderate income folks. Which if you look at the moderate numbers, it's almost market rate, so, but there's other strengths. So we try to keep it on with for a longer time.
No, that helps. Yes, it does. It's somewhat helps. No, but I mean, it's kind of like you become a planning commissioner or city councilor, you just have to take it like we're white.
Well, we're gonna
Digest it, so.
we're starting the housing element, so you're gonna hear all about it.
Yeah, so that's very helpful.
Because I did ask that question at the planners meeting, and they said to write it up because they were talking about it. Looking at that question.
Wow.
So my question to them was,
You wanna work with
Is,
it.
is Sandra using the microphone? I can't hear her.
She was.
She just stopped. She hasn't said anything since she put it down.
Just as a follow-up.
yeah, so I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's gonna send me a question.
No, that's good. We're all gonna be getting, up on this more than we ever wanted to. Anything else on Rena? Can we go ahead and move on? 'Cause I know we're trying to wrap this up here. Postal food service, where we're bringing that back? Let's just bring it back to council.
Yeah, we'll bring it back. I don't think we've selected a date yet, but we're
chair of, Zero Waste, would like that to get done.
Yeah.
Former member of Zero Waste, probably like to see that get
So
done.
hopefully the next time it'll be on the council agenda. This agenda.
Yep, let's just go ahead and send it up, send it back up to flagpole, see if we can get done this time. Senate Bill 69, you want to,
I did get an update from Senator McGuire's office, pretty long. I'm assuming I think you probably know all this, but
I'm now sitting on NCRA.
that's the first thing that he does.
Yeah.
Now,
It's out of Melanie.
yeah.
Yeah.
He talks about the budget, which was approved $16.5 million to complete the shutdown of NCRA. This is the Great Redwood Trail, by the way, so. Senator
So, you know,
McGuire's
apropos what we were discussing earlier, especially with dog parks, I think that now that we've got this settled with Senate Bill 69 and the NCRA and SMART taking over, I have my eye on a couple of those parcels, and I want to work with Farhad. We need to move forward on getting, doing a master plan for that Absey Road, First Street, Citrus Fair, and here's why. I think there's a place for a dog park somewhere in there. If I have to, like, you know,
there's some.
do harm to my fellows at Smartboard, I'm going, it can be negotiated for coffee.
There's some developable.
There are some developable parcels, and I think, and there are pieces that were always in limbo because NCRA had no money, so they got no answers. Now it's under SMART authority, so, and of course, it's gonna have room for the Great Redwood Trail. So what does that look like? What's the, and of course, with that, one of the things it does is that it abuts the cemetery. It goes to being able to get fencing for the cemetery, fencing for that rail area, and is there room in there for, even if a pocket dog park or a pocket park, that's fine. So I think that's the thing, is that now we can start getting answers for that and finding out what would be available for the city of Cloverdale to partner with SMART and or Great Redwood Trail for some of our priorities, like dog parks, small dog park, those sorts of things, which would be a great location because it's kind of that gateway to Great Redwood Trail, the cemetery, River Park, the train, all of that kind of stuff. So I'd like to come up with a plan.
Okay.
In partnership, now that we have an entity we can work with, and one of them has money. Well, two of them have money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I'd like to put that on our radar for future discussion of this.
Okay, well, I will continue to work with Jason Waddle.
He's the
He'll
man.
respond immediately.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, there's phone calls.
long email.
And exactly.
We'll keep it on.
And I'm serving on both those boards, so I'll do it. I intend to get that done to my fellow board members that.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Give and take, yes.
Exactly. Or just pay. I'm ready to just pay. Any other questions about Senate Bill 69? Anything else? Okay, moving on to information only, PG&E and their offers of money that never come through. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a grant for, it's called, for the creation of these, what we're calling resilient hubs, which could be used for heating centers, cooling centers, any type of disaster center. And there's two types of grants. One's for $25,000, and that's just for kind of planning and assessment needs, and then there's design build projects for $100,000 each. I think David mentioned the senior center is actually applying
Oh, great.
for one of these. For
What about Citrus Fair or Night Cloverdale?
I have not heard. David, I don't know if you had any more detail on the senior center's efforts to get some sort of backup power.
I didn't hear about the Citrus Fair, though the Citrus Fair has done a really great job of getting backup power installed at the Citrus Fair. So they may have adequate backup systems now at this point.
Okay. Did you happen to see the container that Johannes brought to the Resilience Fair with the solar panels on top? And
Yeah.
you know, I want one.
Yeah, I spoke to.
I bet the chief wants one too. He just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have I actually shared the same sentiment with the chief. It said we need a mobile.
Oh, I want it. Okay, I'm glad we're all on the same page. Let's figure out a way to do it.
Well, these grants are due August 30th, and I know it's senior centers.
So is the city going to submit a grant?
Well, I started to read it, and I think that it has to be a city who applies. There's a city told them.
There you go. So I think I put a couple items on future agenda items
Okay.
at this point.
Yeah.
Anything else, city manager, for future agenda items or Mayor Pros?
I have no further items.
Great. Yes, I think that in the, just within the other items, we have plenty of
You got it.
things where we got items. Pending items, which I still don't know what that means. Good of the order,
I don't know if this is good in the order, but the date is wrong.
for the next
Unless the
meeting.
next meeting is on a Thursday.
Well, you know what, I think that's a leftover.
I know.
Yeah,
So the 28th, it should be the 26th.
if we're doing Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hopefully here.
hopefully
Just
here.
workshop for you.
Maybe here, maybe not.
26, yes, I was looking at September.
Just be sure to
Okay.
get the agenda and get the final agenda with the location. And it may be here, but we'll see if we're back. Hopefully we'll be here. We'll know.
Where do I get, I didn't never get this agenda. I was gonna email
You can
you.
sign up on our website to notify me,
Yeah.
right on the front page, and that will alert me
If
to
you
all
have a
the.
copy that I can take with me to walk with you.
Well, if you just go to the Cloverdale.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you right here, too.
Oh, great, thanks.
So yes, if you just go to the main site, you know, www.cloverdale.net, or just Google City of Cloverdale, it's right here, the notify me.
See where it is also.
It's like an Apple Watch symbol. And this is a great place because here you can sign up for city agendas, the city council subcommittee agendas. Anytime there's police department news and information, even though they do a great job pushing through Nixle. But in addition, if you haven't signed up already, you can also sign up for the Cloverdale Newsletter that goes out weekly. And in this newsletter, we always try to put upcoming meetings of any kind. And sometimes after the meetings occur, we'll kind of do a little recap.
So go back one more page. So I don't think.
Is there a box for all of them, where you just click?
Yeah, and then you could sign up for every, that's your.
Yeah, it's just a little email, or you have a text option. So
yeah.
if you want to click all of them, I have to put my email address.
Yeah.
And then you can just click on all 4 if you want to, or just the ones you.
You see where it was, Alpha?
No, didn't go
Okay,
back.
actually go back one page. Yeah, go back one page, because I don't think
This
you've
is
got.
our front page.
Got it.
the City of
So where it
Cloverdale.
says notify me, and it has the picture of the Apple Watch. So click on that. And then it takes you to the page where it has like rules of all of our meetings, our newsletters, and
Put your
everything.
email in, and then you
Yeah.
just check the box
Well,
for what agenda you want.
Yeah.
My people from the page of the dog park, if they want to see this meeting, like I see the main meetings over there. Is there a place where they can go? Okay, I can tell them go to, if you want to see the results of the meeting, go to.
Yeah, of course. Go back. We're going back to the homepage. It's, just
Mhm.
City of Cloverdale.
Mhm.
Everything, agendas, minutes, and videos.
Mhm.
Did you see that, or was that? too
Yes,
quick?
I did.
Okay. So they're all here. You just have to scroll down to the meeting you want.
Okay.
So I'm gonna scroll. It's in alphabetical order for this meeting in particular. It's the Planning and Sustainability Subcommittee meeting. So anytime there's a little television icon, that means you can just simply click on it and watch the video.
Cool.
So after today, within the next day or two, I'll get the video link up there.
Okay, I'll post that on the page.
Yeah.
Where they can go and listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Just so you know where I'm talking.
I do, I'll look into it.
And then it'll be on the next, it's on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, it's already on the agenda.
Yep, it'll be,
Standing item.
it's, standing item, but we've kind of fleshed it out a little bit, so. We'll get a report of all of the properties that have, all things dog, all the properties that have been looked at, the barriers, the possibilities, the cost, all that kind of, everything that we have to date, so that everybody will be able to see where we are to date, so we can move forward.
And you'll be posting all the stuff usually on something like this, that the followers can go look at that.
Absolutely.
And I don't have to be explaining everything.
There you go.
Go look at it.
Well, then you can post a history on your site, so people can
Right,
like, look at it for everything, and then.
And FYI, it's the Cloverdale Community Dream Dog Park. If you guys want to go to that page and like and join and see what we're up to. So.
I know.
No.
Any other Sorry. That's what my plans are, and if not, then we'll go ahead and adjourn, to our next scheduled meeting, which as we know now is Tuesday, October 26th at 4 p.m. Please go on to cloverdale.net, click on notify me, and sign up for notifications so you know about this and other meetings. Everybody have a lovely evening. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.